one this month. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
You tell me when.
You were good. You're good.
Okay, we'll call to order at 8:18. Purpose of this meeting is we have to approve Matthew to our staff to apply for the community partnership grant. So we can get the adoption of the agenda. Councilor Warwick. Business items, Matthew 3.1, community partnership grant.
Okay.
All in favor, your
Oh,
worship.
all in favor, sorry. Very
Okay, through the chair of the council, thanks for coming this morning. The reason for this meeting is we have a deadline of the 28th to apply for these grants, and I need council direction to go ahead with both of those grants. So the first one is to do a partnership grant study. You have to work with another municipality. Special Areas has already provided a letter of support that they would be the partner on this program. So the idea would be that MPE would do a feasibility study of the Hanna Airport, of how it could be developed and used better with all the development going on in the area. We can best use it. It kind of originates from, I think I told you I did the tour of Edmonton Airport with that AB Munis committee I'm on, and they mentioned that if you have a local regional airport, that you should really work with it. It is a key economic driver. So I thought this would be the first step in getting a really good study done, and then we can identify how we can best use that. So as mentioned, Special Areas signed on as a partner with this. We'd be the lead people in this grant. So we just need to get your direction to apply for the grant.
Any questions?
Also, it is fully funded. Sorry, it is fully funded.
It's
I have a question.
There's no question.
it's a council meeting, it's not in this meeting, it's not for you. Yes, we have no public input in this meeting.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
I'd like to see that in that. So it's like only the bylaw we can have questions. My question is what's the emergency of this meeting?
We have to have the application done in a timely fashion.
Time is not an emergency issue.
It is.
No.
There's a deadline put forth by the government.
It's not an emergency.
Time is not.
It's a special meeting. It's not an emergency meeting.
That's
It's within my authority to call a special meeting. I have done that.
I understand that. You have an authority according to the bylaw to ask for a meeting. But according to section 3.5, you have to explain what is the emergency of this meeting.
Time sensitive meeting.
But
It's a time sensitive.
time is not a issue here.
It is.
No.
The grant has to be done by a certain date, so therefore we have to have.
So
a
why you
meeting.
haven't done it before? You had 1 year to prepare this meeting. You had 1 year.
Doesn't matter. I can call a meeting and we're having the meeting, sir. If you don't
That's
like it,
fine.
you're fine to disagree. Our conversation is over. Thank you.
Okay, what I want to say here,
No, our
recorded,
conversation is over.
recorded that emergency is not.
It is not an emergency meeting. It is a special meeting.
For what? Just now you said it's emergency because of time. Just now you said.
I
because of-
said it is a special meeting due to time frame.
Yeah.
Sir, you're
Not-
entitled to your opinion and that's what it is.
It's
Thank you.
not an issue, an emergency.
Thank you
issue,
very
a
much.
special meeting.
Yes, sir. I'm just asking if you have any questions, sir. I'm not pointing at your point, I'm pointing out the door. Perfect. Yes, sir. You had a question. I'm just trying to ask if you have any clarification.
Yes, I'd like to
I didn't
get
realize it was
the
new.
agenda, a copy of the agenda.
Yep. Yeah,
Where can I get a copy?
it's on the table right in front of you.
The agenda.
That is the agenda for the meeting.
Section 3.5 asks for an agenda.
There's an agenda sitting on the table, sir. Would you like mine?
The agenda.
It's right here on the screen. It was sent in your email.
Is this still recorded?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have one thing to say. This meeting is not according to the bylaw, thus it is illegal. It's violate the bylaw.
Sir, you're more than entitled to your opinion of it. I can
No,
call
it's
this,
not
but,
a- it's this
no,
section.
I can call a
Section.
special meeting at any point in time that I deem
understand that.
necessary.
I understand.
That's what I have
that.
done.
I understand that. The bylaw allows you to ask for a special meeting. But in the meeting, according to section 3.5, you should explain why there is a need for such a meeting early morning at this. And you said it's because of the time issue. Time frame.
1 second.
Do you want me to bring up the bylaw? Because you did explain it when
Yeah.
you sent the request to
Yeah.
council.
Actually, I'm just gonna call Yard Cynthia over there.
Person is here.
No, he's not actually. He's here in civilian. Both he's not here.
Why do you want to call Arsen?
Are you kidding?
Excuse me, gentlemen,
No, it's fine.
are you calling us in vain?
Yep.
There you go, Arsen.
I don't understand why you're calling us.
Because you're wasting our time.
Because you're wasting your time and you're being disruptive.
Because you are wasting our time.
You're here. You don't have to be.
No, I have to be.
Yes, Hanna, please. I'm here at the town of Hanna, the public meeting, and I'm being harassed and I'm threatened. You have this one,
Yeah.
and you have not seen the officer on board. Mr. Welshman is here.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay.
Let's go.
You don't have to follow us here in Germany. I can go myself.
We're
aware. You may go ahead and follow us in, please.
The views are gonna be.
okay, so can we, what do
The
you?
owls are working well.
So throw-
Maybe go outside. I can keep the dogs in the office.
For the grant, there's a max of 200,000 and it's 100% covered by the grant. We don't have to match at all. Yes.
Also, I want a copy of the application.
We haven't filled it out yet, sir.
So this meeting is for what? If you don't have.
To approve that we will grant.
So you could have done this a long time ago, why?
On Danny.
Yeah.
You want to apply for it.
Proceed, Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
Thank you.
So can we get a motion to approve Matthew to apply for the first process?
I'll make the motion. Then.
Counselor Thorough, all in favor, carried.
I'm against.
Matthew, next part, please.
Okay, through the chair to council, the second part of this is to partner with the town of Raymond. It's the same grant, like ACP. But in the first one, we are the lead municipality, and the second one, we are not the lead municipality. The town of Raymond is the lead municipality, so we're taking the role like what special areas are with the first one. We're just supporting it. So this is over the last 9 months, we've been using Laserfiche government frameworks to digitize our documents. So they're going to help with this grant to what it would give us 4 years of one of their components, which is the development side of that Laserfiche government frameworks document. So we would get 4 years free usage at, because we're billed it for every bundle we get off them, we're billed so much, so this would cover that for 4 years, so we'd be able to use that for 4 years. But again, Town of Raymond would be the lead, we're the supporter, and it's the 200 grand, and it would be split between the two municipalities to use towards that program.
Counselor Hunter,
Have we had a partnership like this with Raymond before, or is this something new?
This is new with Raymond. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What it was is all the different municipalities that use this software already, they were contacting them to see if they wanted to partner towards this grant. So I think Raymond was one of the closest for us. So yeah.
Counselor Warwick,
And also, is there any contributing dollars from our local municipality to this then? Or is
This is all 100% funded. Both these, they're both the same grant, the ACP, just one we're the lead and one we're the second community. So there's no commitment on our behalf. They're all 100% funded.
And we're each getting 200,000?
No, it's one, for the first one, we get the 200,000 towards this study. For the second one, it'd be split between the town of Raymond and the town.
So can I just ask a question on that? Does that extend our existing contract with them then?
I don't know if we decide we're gonna leave, I'm sure we can leave, but we're leaving money on the table if we get the grant.
Any other questions? Perfect. Motion for the second application,
I should want to.
Council Card, all in favor? Carried. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Motion to adjourn our special meeting. Special. Session, yeah. All in favor? There. Okay, wait a couple minutes here and we'll get started with the second portion. God.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you read? Not your telephone. You're not hoping. This is fun. I love it. Okay, then.
Sorry, I didn't put my.
Okay.
I didn't have to find this.
Okay, we'll call the information session to order at 8:30. Any errors or omissions on the agenda?
I'll make a
Council Warwick.
motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Council Warwick makes a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor? Carried. Our first delegation is Harvest Sky, Mr. Will Warwick. We'll find a stool in amongst the,
Oh, I'm gonna stand up.
you're gonna stand at the podium, not a boy. Most people are too shy to take that on, so.
Hi, everybody. Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Will Warwick. Work at Home Hardware. I think everybody knows me anyway, so I won't do much of an introduction. I'm currently the chair of the Harvest Sky Animal Rescue. And yeah, I'm here to do a quick little presentation just of what we're about and whatnot, some ideas we got coming up, and possibly some ways maybe we're kind of proposing some of our ideas. First of all, this year to date, I guess it's not year to date, sorry, this is from May up until now. I don't have the information prior to May. That's a new thing I should have looked into it, but I couldn't find it. Anyways, from May until now, we've had 17 cats come in. And we've had a total of 12 cats we've adopted or bought to them adopted. It's very cool. I think we had only 6 cats last month, which is really impressive. So now on that note, I've also had to decline a lot of cats. We can only have so many animals in the facility before I ran out of space and it's disgusting. I haven't tracked exactly numbers, but I've got some rough about 20 cats or so that we've declined, listed from May until now. And then we also, because our facility is not able to house dogs.
One second, Will.
because we have cats everywhere. Yep.
Perfect.
Over here. Yeah, I've had probably at least 12 calls to surrender a dog, which I'm working at for the moment. But that is at least later in the future. One of the things we want to do for the future is we would like to do like a trap and spay and neuter program. What that looks like is we hire a company, they come into the town, any strays that they get fixed. So that will hopefully cut down the cat population because, as we know, there's a lot of cats, there's a lot of strays. Now we were looking into doing that. There's only about 2 companies that do that kind of thing. Unfortunately, it's not something we can initiate. It is something the town and my officer has to initiate. So that would be something we definitely love to work with. work on something like that. The cost and whatnot, I'm not sure, we don't have that exactly, but that would something we'd love to work on next year. What that would look like would be putting out a blast on Facebook, getting the little pamphlets in the mail, everywhere to let the community know. Please don't let your cats out on the 16th. We're going to be capturing and spraying and doing with them. It's not a cost to anybody, so there's a thing for them. But yeah, if you don't want your cat fixed, don't let them outside on certain days. And it will be a thing of like, they capture every cat, look at them, if they're fixed, they put us back outside. But yeah, so that's something we want to work on. for the future.
So Will, did they come and do the capture or do you
Yeah.
have to?
No, they do everything. Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's kind of why they're one of the two companies in Alberta. Probably not that popular other job to do. Capture cat and. Yeah.
Also, do they use the local vet to do that, or do they bring that?
I think it's a local vet, if I remember correctly, yeah, so it'd also be working with, the Valley Vet here and giving an update that was for them.
I'd actually started on this about a year and a half
Oh,
ago,
cool.
Will, and there's a couple of vets that will come out and do it. The problem is either A, we had to transport the cats to Calgary, or B, they would come out and perform the service here. And it was more viable to have them come out than transport the cat.
Yeah.
So, other than having to capture the cats. So,
Yeah,
But yeah, no, like I said, well, we can work on that as well.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. It's something, hopefully, I mean. Nobody likes the cat population, I'm sure there's a lot, we don't like it either, we. To bring them in, and we want to have the minimal amount of cats, like. If everybody fixes their cat, we don't exist. Not that we don't want to exist, we love helping the animals and whatnot, however, if everybody fixes the cat, we don't have a problem, we don't need to, what you need for us. Not saying you need for us, it doesn't have words in that. Next up, I want to talk about, we have been doing a couple of fundraisers throughout the year. We recently just did an online auction, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, 3 weeks ago. On that, we had about a dozen items and we raised $950 around there. So that was pretty cool, very successful. We've had a couple of barbecues through the Prison Brothers. I believe that was around 1,200 total between the two. I have in my treasurer's reports that our fundraising for the year is about $6,400. So that's pretty good. I'm not sure what else we've done prior in before May or whatnot, but that's good.
If you'd like to stop and wait, I'm sure you could. If I'm finding this very distracting.
Oh.
Your worship.
Just half a sec, well, we'll
Yeah,
get it
no,
pulled up here in a minute.
I just have to go back.
Sorry, Mike.
Line up outside.
That.
Another question now,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how many stray cats do you think are in the community at any one time over a month?
That's a question. I don't have a clue. We don't really have a.
You don't have any data.
Tracking it on it. Yeah. I don't know, I mean, from hearing the public. I wouldn't know. I know down my alley. There's a few for sure,
Yeah.
like there's the cat and then a month later, they're called kittens as well. And then, you know, someone does just look after them. So, yeah, it's definitely.
But there's no data out there.
No, unfortunately.
Okay.
Well, that number would change rapidly up and down.
Sure, yeah, but there probably is some sort of a average. Do you guys still have a wait list? Or is like, I see the decline 20 cats.
Yeah.
Is there also a wait list?
There is, like, we do kind of put them on a wait list, but usually, luckily, they're usually here,
Right.
like they find another rescue. Or whatnot, that's ecosystem. But I also hear that a lot is, we're not the only ones that.
Right.
There's a lot, we're usually like, hey, you're the place of pride, and you can take my cat. Loves you, but unfortunately, we're back, so.
A lot of other counties too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this, we're with the clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is the capacity of
You stay around 24, 25 is what fits comfortably in the facility. We like to keep it around 20, just in case of any kind of emergency. It's like someone's like, oh no, I just got evicted, or my mom died. She's got a couple of cats, I think we take them. Those kind of things, we like to keep a little bit of a buffer just in case life happens. So we like to help people out and then for that kind of thing. I think right now we got. Well, we just got something. We've got, I think we've got 21 cats.
So with your adoption criteria.
Yeah.
I see people on Facebook continuously looking for cats, for barn cats and stuff. Has the criteria changed?
That is something I would like to work on, because in my mind, this is not the rescue. Every cat is a barn cat. I'm like, let's get these cats out here so we can get more in together. It's a little bit different on the board. I mean, you're with these cats all the time. There are a little bit of attractions with them. So there is a little bit of, oh, but this cat's so sweet. Yeah, it goes great in that barn. That's my personal opinion. That is not of the rescue. So yeah, that is something I'm definitely working on with the board. Is like, you need to have more barn cats.
Well, and that's one of the challenges that, I mean, I've known people that have applied to have a cat.
Yeah,
Approved at the board level, and then the final say was no, because it's going to be a shop cat or a barn cat.
yeah.
And,
I've heard that.
unfortunately, I'm gonna sound a little bit inhumane, they're cats. And my cats at the shop, I mean, are fed water. I've got 2 on special diets and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
And but like I said, most barn cats are in and heated, and they're pretty good.
oh yeah, they're left active for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, yeah, I have 2 cats myself, and it's their cat. In the store, we have a cat go, and took them out of cat. That's the thing about cats, there's no. Yeah, so that's definitely something I'm working on.
Okay.
Larger barn population, so that,
Perfect.
and we do some more cats, that allows us to take in more, so, and so, well, solves everybody else.
So you mentioned, or I don't remember who mentioned it, you're a hub, so are you getting funding from special areas or?
Currently not,
Okay,
but that is something.
yeah,
we go to the-
because I mean, ultimately, we're helping out where we can.
Yes, absolutely.
But I don't feel right that we're supporting various other areas that don't have their own facilities to take care of the problems.
Yeah, correct. In the future, we're also working on having some more community collaborations, like something we've been investing in. Just recently, on November 10th, we had a senior visit, so we had the lodge that contacted us and say, hey, we got some folks that come by and hang out with cats for an hour, so they want cats, but we say no cats, so we organized something. I think there was about 6 seniors that came down and just absolutely had a blast. They very much enjoyed they got about 2 hours hanging out with the cats and cats up there, of course. So, and that was something, there was such great reception. They were thinking about maybe doing it a monthly thing or whatnot, and coming by and hang out with the cats for a couple hours. So we're definitely gonna keep doing that. Another thing that we started with is working with the library. Got an idea for, well, it wasn't us, it was Michelle Davio had an idea of doing some bookmarks for the library. So custom bookmarks printed on them is a cat at the rescue, has a little blurb about them, like, hey, yeah, they're little kind of thing. So trying to get the cats out there a little bit more often, but also supporting with the library. And these are free books. So, yeah.
Are you still doing the pictures that we're sending out of restaurants?
Yes,
Like a
just
faster
got those. Wait. What is
Those
it?
seem to work really well.
Yes,
It's a good thing.
yeah, Laura was telling me about those.
Yeah.
I believe that gave her some, because I can't.
No, that's awesome. if you're
But
still
yeah,
doing it,
definitely,
yeah.
we have still continued,
Great.
with Jill, she said it's definitely maybe different.
Yeah, it has.
Getting staff even. But yeah, we're definitely looking for some more community collaboration. I didn't write anything else, but we are looking. I've always wanted to do something with school, like, kind of, have a teacher volunteer to get them in when they're young, they enjoy it. Guess what? They gotta do it. That's my idea. So that'd be something I'd like to do too, is if the, it's more young people and yeah, great, some success and, one of the other things that we do is we do have a reserve kennel for dogs, for the biomarkers, I think we, but catch is not for the summer, we do have a spot for that, so if anything does happen, that is available. I guess one last thing I want to talk about, we have been, since I've joined the board in May, there was always a line on the agenda that said a building fundraiser. And it was just there. So I asked them if it was, so that was, and they're like, oh, well, it's just there, you know, in case someone wins a lottery, build a building. Why don't we build a building now? Like, let's build a new facility, let's work on it, this is not, shouldn't sit here. So, that is something a couple months ago, we sat down and kind of made a wish list of what we want to do. It's a lot, like, it's big, the thought of in-house engineering kind of, oh, I don't know if that's feasible, but, you know, wish big anyways, dream big. So that is something we're gonna work on for the next couple of years. Like, I would love to see a new facility where we can house dogs, we can house cats, possibly like a storage front, you could sell some merch and make some money, that kind of stuff. So it's very new, in the works, but that's something we're gonna work on. We're also realizing we don't know how to do it or where we're gonna start. So, that'll be something like I'm talking to them, see if someone can do it for us or guide us in the correct direction or something like that. We're looking at maybe doing like a big gala fundraiser. I wouldn't mind seeing one in September of next year. Again, just to see if there's any input from the community. Yeah.
Do you have a number for an annual operating fund? Like, do you have those kind of dollars of what you need on a basis to keep the facility, existing facility up and going?
I would say about $60,000. I've been noticing what we spend every month in building the bill, really, internet, all that kind of stuff. It's about $5,000 that we spend every month. That can change depending on if someone gets hurt or sick or if there's much days and leaders that month. It does go up and down, but it does seem to be about 5,000.
So you're currently renting?
We are, yes, but that space is owned by the owned by the Valley Beth guy who was Valley Beth and Durham. And we own that building as well. But yeah,
You guys, you have foster?
yes, actually, we currently do have a foster cat. It was a cat that has some sticky problems and was really, we just can't look on it.
I mean, they both have people that look after cats, like.
Yeah,
Cats in and foster them.
yeah, we have one in foster care. That is something I would like to develop more, even having a foster, they're taking some dogs on the wait list. From my understanding, they used to do a dog foster program, but what ended up happening, like, oh, you have a dog for 6 months, and you have a dog for, and they're like, I don't fostering that, I'm getting sick of that. And yeah, we all look after that and kind of the other people dog. Right.
So there is people out there that live.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and that's something I want to work on, is getting all that information out that, hey, if you want a cat. But you know.
We don't know how many, but I mean.
Yeah.
It's, you know. It's definitely great direction.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's yeah. Any more questions? That's kind of all I have.
Well, thank you for taking this on. I understand that you're quite new at this. I didn't know this.
It's,
That's
yeah,
you know, this is a big undertaking and to have a transition with not much information or numbers. But it's necessary. I know in the past, I could be corrected here, but I think when we didn't have your facility, the town had taken this on. We had to use our police officer and, you know, other members. So I think we're thankful that this is in the community support facility for it to
Yeah, no, I heard that there was an AGM in May and kind of the day out that there's a big jam and like possibly so much money, but then there only be 2 board members left. Well, can't have that. So we can step up and we started with a board of 4, don't say anything. But so we've been growing, and yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. Been a little bit slow, but it's also a lot of learning for everybody, so. But yeah, it's been good. It's been fun. Any other questions or anything?
So do you have a specific ask then? I know that we have, you know, some grant dollars that we've given this facility since 2009 up to last year. So do you have it?
Yeah, I guess that would be my ask is to continue funding. You know, it may not be a lot, but to us, every little bit is a lot. You know, when people are doing things for $100 or something, it doesn't sound like a lot. And, you know, grand scheme, it's not a lot, but you know, that's like what that look is. Like that means a lot to us, or food or cat litter, like there's lots of them, $5,000 a month when we've got very little income from the income. Yes.
I think one thing people fail to realize is that you guys went the SPCA. So you guys aren't getting all kinds of other funding, you're completely solely on what the town gives you.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of misconception about that, so it's good to clear it up, because I think people think you're getting money from all these different
That's
places when you absolutely aren't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was still the deal, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the SPCA was the old one and now it has been rebranded as the cover sky. There was evidently a lot of issues before when it was the SPCA, like 40 cats in there, but the building disgusting, but 40 cats, that's a lot. Even the 20 cats we'll get them out of that. So we've setting some rules in place to make that. You don't want that happening. You want to look after these animals. And yeah,
there's been several rescues in the news for all the wrong reasons in the last month or so,
yeah, and we want to,
no.
not for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
for very good reasons of how we built the new building.
Okay. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah.
Get a motion from council to thank Mr. Warwick for his presentation. Councilor Warwick, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you. Have a fine rest of your meeting.
Yeah. RCMP, Mr. Wellsman.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me today. As you can see, I'm not in uniform today. Should be back to regular duties next week. So in the meantime, though, I can still give you some updates. And first of all, this is the first time for me meeting some of you. So look forward to meeting with the new faces on council. And my door is always open if you have any questions. So I just wanted to highlight a few things in the second quarter update for this quarter. We have a new criminal operations officer, Assistant Commissioner Wayne Nichols, at the Alberta headquarters. Mr. Nichols is previously the Southern Alberta District Commander, who was my supervisor. So I can attest to his experience and the positive effect he'll have in that role there. So look forward to having him in that position. Some other highlights just generally for the division or Alberta in general. You may have heard about the 310 RCMP non-emergency line that's been rolled out across the province. So now no matter where you are in the province, if you have a non-emergency matter, you can call 310 RCMP and it will automatically direct you to the appropriate call center. Of course, we're still using 911 for our emergency calls, but the 310 RCMP number was created just to help streamline, make it easier for folks, no matter where they are in the province, to be able to call for a non-emergency matter. At the detachment level, we started a Facebook page for the detachment, which has gained some followers already, just in order to be able to engage the community directly with some matters that are of interest to the community. Not necessarily something that we would forward out to media generally that they might not pick up, but things that we think are important. So everything from a stray dog that we find and we're looking to return to its owner, but also information about new related charges, or other issues that we're dealing with, at the detachment level that we think that it's important for, the community to be aware of. Of course, the Facebook page doesn't replace urgent notifications like the Alert Ready system. We're still obviously going to be using that for shelters in place, active threat incidents, but the Facebook page is just a way for us to help connect with the community better for those non-urgent issues. So in the last quarter, we've also been working with the town of Hanna's new bylaw officer. We've appreciated developing that relationship, and that's going well. I've also included the statistics for the second quarter. If you have it in front of you, some areas where we have seen some increases in the last year in mental health related calls. Drop 911s and false alarm 911s is up as well, but that's mainly a technical issue with rural phone lines and not a human issue. So it's more of a problem with the lines themselves. So you may see a rather high statistic there. We also have an increase in assaults compared to last year, but it's not a lot greater than some years prior. We do have accidents category, a slight increase in the property damage, motor vehicle collisions, and non-reportable motor vehicle collisions as well. So if anybody has any questions about those, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
So that's detachment wide or town?
Town specific or detachment of Hanna, so including like special areas.
Yeah.
So we also included in our report some of the things that we're doing with the community in terms of community engagement. Some of our members are coaching our local football team, some of the hockey teams, and participating in some parades. Hopefully we'll be in the Christmas parade again this year as well. In terms of our other priorities, we're also tracking offenders in the community who are on curfew or a court ordered condition where they have requirement to be within their home at a certain time or have conditions not to consume or possess alcohol or drugs. So we're also checking those individuals. We have had some breaches that we forwarded to Crown Council for charges. So that's working well for us and the community. Other than that, in terms of staffing levels, we haven't had any change since the last quarter. We're still at 5 active officers with 1 additional officer on maternity leave and 1 who's has a long-term injury that they're no longer at this detachment anyway. So we are working with staffing to try and fill that 1 vacancy. But as far as Alberta rural RCMP detachments, were actually relatively well staffed compared to some of the other detachments, as I'm sure you may have heard in some municipal meetings. So overall, we're meeting our scheduling requirements, and I'm quite happy with where we're at overall. Any questions?
It appears that the crime statistics are down, which would reflect that the community is in a safe condition, if I can describe it this way.
Okay.
Would you speak to that? Like obviously, we would want 000 all the way down the sheet.
Yeah, so I would assume a few things, I guess, that all crimes are being reported or being detected. And so it is important that community members do report everything so that we're aware, because an unreported theft from a motor vehicle, it never gets tracked. So and we do see situations, because I monitor social media, where people report, I think somebody went through my car last night, but if we don't get that report, then it may look like it's artificially lower levels. So that's why we always encourage folks to report, even if they don't think that it's solvable, just so that we're aware of the picture, and then we can make sure that there's the appropriate resources in place. And also, if there's any educational things that we need to do. So recently, on our Facebook page, we talked about having a 9 p.m. routine where you're making sure you're just locking all your vehicles before you go to bed, lock your door at night. Just so that everybody's aware of that, because unfortunately we do have offenders that come into the community to do crime. They're not necessarily from here, and then they do their thing and they leave again, so.
Go forward.
Sergeant Welcome, I understand too this weekend, coming back into town, you guys have a check, so. Most of the officers that were there were from Hanna. And the young man, of course, I had an opportunity to have a conversation with them about, most of the officers there were from downtown, other than from our detachment. He said that's gonna be kind of something that's gonna be going on in the next little while. And primarily, do we work in partnership with Drumheller? And is it because we don't have enough staff to kind of pull an event like that off?
I think the officer you're talking to was an Alberta sheriff from Drumheller. Is that possibly?
It might have been.
Yeah, it was a joint operation, so we do traffic enforcement in cooperation with them, because the Alberta sheriffs who you see out on the road, their primary mandate is traffic enforcement, so that's why.
That was good to see that, to just have that visibility, and that's something I can see that they're going to.
Yeah, that's their main priority is to do traffic safety, so we partner with them because they have a lot of specialized expertise in that area, and so they try to be their primary mandate, and we try and support them and work with them.
Just a question, you did make mention of the assault numbers, and I was taking a look at the material too, and seeing that 138% increase from year over year.
Yeah.
On that statistic, would that be, for example, calls for it or separate isolated cases? Like, for example, if it was 2 people that were constantly fighting, 1 call going back, or is these separate, complete different incidences of assaults?
So it's each call for service. So it could be the same 2 individuals, for example, on 2 different days or even hours later. So sometimes we have situations where 2 individuals, are in conflict, and we do get multiple calls for them. So that can artificially inflate those numbers.
So with that being said, there doesn't necessarily have to be an assault. It's just that the call comes in as an assault, it's counted.
It's any allegation where it's not proven to be unfounded.
Okay.
So there may be an allegation that an assault occurred, but even if there's not sufficient evidence to take it to charges, we still treat it as an assault report. However, if we determine that it definitely did not occur, maybe they were in another town at the time of or something, and it's unfounded, then it's not counted.
Okay.
The only thing that I noticed under commonplace that these was false reviews. And in my former career, Hanna actually was, I think, twice as high as the federal average in terms of false reviews. And so when I look at these numbers, of course, this is reported, and in quite a significant reduction in the amount of reported false reviews cases. Would you suggest that is simply because we're improving preventive and interventive efforts with respect to social abuse? Because I know that there's a lot of activity that we try as a community to do in order to provide support and reduce those numbers for families.
Well, I could speak to having resources like Wings in the community, and also having a robust victim services program, which we do now, does help, because if there's like a first instance of a report of domestic violence, those organizations can help the victim to relocate, get out of that situation. And then that prevents the further instances. And then our part is also to do criminal charges for the individual who is responsible. So I think it's a combination of both.
And that would, you think, explain the reduction in numbers we already knew?
I can't say for certain, but I think those programs certainly help with that. There could be so many other economic factors It's hard to say too.
Any other questions? Thanks, Rob. Once again, very informative. And as Rob indicated, his doors are open. I've ventured a text or two here and there, and information is always readily available. And so, yeah, don't hesitate to use the resources that we have. And thanks again, Rob, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Mostly thank Mr. Wellsman for dropping in today. Councilor Kroll, all in favor? Carried. Next on the agenda, Mr. Nakota.
Thank you.
You gonna go to the pulpit or?
Which one do you want? Yeah,
You're fine. Right there.
That's more cozy.
I'm good either way standing anytime. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. to Your agenda. You guys are busy. Have a little information I'll hand out here. You want to shoot those ones around that way? Thank you. Here, so just good enough. I don't know if I printed enough, but
Should I not take one? I guess so. Let's see if it goes all the way. You gave a copy to an owner? Do you have a copy, Winona, for the meeting package?
I don't know. There you go.
We came prepared, my goodness.
try. Everybody got a map and a handout, hopefully.
You can get that. So,
Just need some wheelies.
Sure, thanks. Thank you. So, yeah, we're here to talk about the old primary school land, I guess, for those who haven't lived in town or been around for a while. On the east end of town, there is an approximately 3-acre parcel of land. There used to be what at the time was a primary school there. It was one of the original schools in Hanna. Right now there's a playground and a whole bunch of green space. Prairie land, we don't have any need for that land in that space anymore. So we had started talking to the town, Matthew, probably 6 months or more ago, about the town acquiring it for the potential of developing it. So just here today to give your new an update on kind of where things are at and if we want to move things forward or not between Prairie Land and the town. So I'll just go over quickly some of the information that I've handed out here. So at our August 19th Board of Trustees meeting, our board passed the following motion. So it was moved that Prairie Land School Division enter into a purchase agreement with the town for the land. So it's designated as 602 First Street East in exchange for 2 residential service lots. Further, the sale of land is obviously conditional of approval from Alberta Education and Child Care, Alberta Infrastructure, and any other provisions that we have to follow. So Prairie Land might own the land, but of course, we report to a ministry as the municipality does. We report to Education and Child Care, as it's called now. But the government changed rules on land a few months ago. And actually, Alberta Infrastructure has to be involved if we're disposing of any land. So there's a number of steps and acts that we have to follow to be able to enter into any kind of a deal. Background information, again, I'll just skim through this quickly. So we've discussed an arrangement whereby we would the town would acquire the land in exchange for hopefully a couple of lots. Right now, there's a playground, a bus shelter for the bus that picks up students and takes them over to JC Shared School, and obviously a large amount of green space. Other than the shelter, we don't use the land for anything school related. The green space and playground are obviously used by residents as a park, and in the winter, the town piles snow there that the kids play on and everything, so that's good. The town, thank you very much, maintains the park. In the summer, they cut the grass for us. It's very, very helpful. We do maintain the playground, and we hold, of course, the liability on the playground and any of the space should something happen. Right now, we don't receive any funding from the government to maintain that space, so it's really a liability for us. All of our funding comes in with enrollment in students, and because it's not a school, we get nothing for it. As I said, there's approximately 3 acres of land. over there. I know working with Matthew, he had MPE at your cost. Thank you again. Come up with this concept map that's in front of you that would have potentially 15 lots, leaving approximately 0.75 acres for green space with the playground and the bus shelter. But of course, it's just a concept. We're proposing again to sell the town or trade the town, the entire site in exchange for 2 lots. When we started looking at this, the tax assessed value of the entire site without services was about $100,000, which when we started again would roughly equal the value of a couple of lots if you look at what Fielding Place was going for and that kind of stuff. Since then, again, when Matthew had MPE kind of look at it and do some estimates, you're looking at I guess Matthew, between 1.3 and 1.5 million to service
To develop, yeah.
to develop it into saleable lots. So that's kind of changed the numbers a little bit, but again, everything's still just a concept. I quickly said there's a process to this. Obviously, our board has to approve the sale. You guys have to approve the sale. And then we have 2 Alberta ministries that we have to in this theory to get approval. And then there's another, obviously, steps to rezoning and subdivision and everything that the town would have to go through. So, yeah. So that's, again, working with Matthew and his staff, thank you very much. This is kind of where we were at. Obviously, the election has brought in some new council members with questions about the process and what potential there is there. So we thought it would be good if I came here and give a little update and kind of answered some questions.
That's cool.
How come the town paid to have this engineered drawing done up?
That was council direction. We brought it to council and council directed staff to pay to have that done. So it was brought to council.
How long ago was that, Matthew?
Oh, what, 6, 9 months ago? So
9 months ago,
Yeah.
approximately.
So this past council.
yeah. Administration wouldn't do anything without council direction, so especially
We
spending that
actually
money.
asked them about viability of that. The the ATCO lot, as we like to call it, as well as the property up on Fox Lake Trail, viability of, all 3 properties, and this was the most appealing at the time, so.
So I'm not a mathematician, but you're suggesting that the cost of site development around the neighborhood probably of 1.5, with 15 residential lots, it would cost $100,000 per lot then, is that correct? Yeah,
Something like that. It would be,
to develop.
it would be expensive per lot to develop.
And where's that money going to be regrouped from?
The goal would be that, because as Mark said, there's a big process for them to get rid of the land. There's not a big process for us to let the land. So the ideal goal would be that we could get it to a developer at some point. Like for us to undertake this would be a massive undertaking and financially not viable for us to do it. So our goal would be to come up with some deal with the developer that they develop that land, make sure that the school gets their 2 lots. That would be the goal. It's not feasible for us to develop this land. It's just an easier flip for us than the school board to do that. We've already had with Thomas from the economic development side, we've already had chats with people that have some passing interest in developing this land, but we have to work on that some more. But yeah, it would definitely not be our project to develop this. We'd never get our money back.
No, I think the Fielding Place is proven that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what's happened there, but yeah, we
don't need the same mistake.
No,
twice.
no, this is a private thing, but it would be like much easier for us to pass it on to a developer than the school division.
We're maintaining it anyways, I guess, kind of thing, so.
And things might happen around here where there is, we were already, as we had those meetings before the previous council, where we understand that there's a shortage of homes in Hanna, and with future development, that's only going to be worse. So, it might entice a developer to you know, they're gonna make money. We would lose money on developing it. A developer would make money on developing that.
So with the two lots that the school board's keeping, is the idea to have those residential for like teachers or something, or what's the plan for those?
Yeah, initially that would be for teachers, just because we are short.
Right.
That now, again, depending on the two lots was the initial.
Okay,
Before we started looking at concepts, before Matthew started talking about developers, so we'd be open to looking at different
okay,
compensation, I guess.
Right, okay.
Is it a lot somewhere else? Is it something else in trade?
you guys are
Right.
open, okay,
We're open to having that discussion, because of course, if a developer comes along and wants the whole piece,
right,
we don't want to hang up a development based on
two lots.
two lots, right?
Okay, well,
But
that's good.
So with that said, with
Councilor Crowe.
Those two lots then would be owned by Prairie Land as such.
Yeah.
And Prairie Land pays no taxes, right?
I'm not sure if we pay taxes on teachers and stuff. We don't on schools, obviously, but I can't
We'll
remember.
have to check into that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Councilor Carter.
I'm just wondering, with the two lots then, and if, say we do get a developer in, is there an option to build an apartment building, or would it be strictly zoned? For
They would have to give us their development, and that would go through our development officer of what goes in there. The idea of this plan here was to keep it in line with what's there currently. You know, the same kind of lot sizes, the same kind of buildings. You know, we could go to like townhomes or fourplexes, that kind of thing, but you know, they can make really nice ones that look really nice. So, you know, that would be the goal if they went for, because the developer is going to make more money on a row house than single family homes, or duplexes. But they can be nice duplexes. Like I've been to Edmonton and Calgary where there's some really nice ones. So.
Councilor Rose, you had your hand kind of up and.
Yeah, I did actually, so, just a few questions, so there is a bus shelter there. Would that bus shelter, if in fact this, purchase happened, would that bus shelter be moving then to Prairie Land property? Because the property remaining would be the ownership of the town of Hanna. So would that be moving on to one of those teacherage properties on the west end?
Yeah, it would depend on what the final plan looks like. Obviously, I know our residents would like to keep a bus shelter over there because that's where the bus stops. It would also depend on if you keep the green space in the playground. I know there's lots of requests to keep a playground. You could keep the bus shelter as part of the playground area over there. So it really depends on what the final what ends up working out with developers or whoever ends up owning
Because the
the
bus
space.
shelter is in the playground area now, is it not?
I believe so. It's very close to the edge.
Of the
Yeah.
playground, it's on a separate lot by the looks of it here.
Okay.
So the other question I have then, playground assessment, or playground equipment and the assessment. I spent some time at AMA going to a bunch of playground, there's a bunch here. The assessment of playground equipment, after a certain amount of time, is devalued and insufficient. So, I'm wondering, when was the last time that this playground equipment was assessed, and the value of it and the safety of it? Because, in fact, if the town does take over this piece of property, then are we liable, and is this on the back of our municipality to take care of this equipment or remove this equipment as well? These are all questions. I got a list of questions.
Yeah. I can't
regards to
speak to
this
the
piece of
value
property.
of playground equipment. There's really no value, because if you tore it down, it would go to the dump, I would suppose, right? So there's really no value to a playground once you put it up. We do maintain the playground in standards with every other playground that we have and operate at a school. So it is inspected, it is upgraded, or not upgraded, upkept and maintained to the standard of a school playground like all the rest of them. So if you guys acquire the land, you guys take the playground and do whatever you want with it, I guess. I can't. Once we sell a piece of land and everything on it, it's whoever buys it takes it. So
Cause I know there, you know, after a certain amount of years, and I would say probably, I know that was back when my kids, cause I provide, you know, we did some fundraisers, but it's definitely, I would say probably more than 10 years old, so.
Well, it's getting up there.
That playground equipment is probably gonna be deemed, you know, unsafe at some point here in the very near future, so,
I guess when that happens, or if that happens and Prairie Land still owns it, we will rip it out, but we will not replace it.
And I guess, Mark, the other question too that came up at our previous meeting in regards to this Prairie Land is the fact that, the caveats that you guys, had in this last, proposal to us was that we keep and maintain, the playground structure, the school structure, and all these things. And I'm not in favor as a municipality, to be quite honest with you, purchasing property and having another entity have a bunch of caveats on what the town does.
Yeah, see, there's no caveats on the sale. I don't know where that came from, sorry.
Okay.
If you look at the offer to purchase,
Okay.
there's no caveats on there.
Because I think, you know what, if we can decide what we're doing with the property and maintain it as we do the rest of the property. I mean, that frees us up too, without having any other mandates sort of on the property that the town of Hanna is purchasing.
Yeah, sorry, that's one of the reasons I came, is there were some rumors out there, but we can't dictate to somebody else what you do with your property once you buy it. So that's false information that was spread.
Yeah, I think the confusion was with that green space, that we would want to keep the green space as that park that existed, but there was no caveat to do that, but it was just for the aesthetics of the area and for like people who would move there, that it would be a selling point to have a park there, but there's.
As we inspect all of our.
Well, then Mark too, I'm also wondering with the teacherages there, you guys are, looking at putting housing units up. Would that be, a cost, for infrastructure for us to get access to that, or is that cost going to be incurred by Prairie Land School Division?
Well, the lots would be serviced like any of the other lots there if it was developed. So it would, if you sold it to a private person, the services would be to the lot lines, I would assume, just like they are at Fielding Place or any other development. So we would continue on from there as if we were a purchaser, just like anybody else.
And I have one more question. This is a long-standing question, and this I've had lots of questions from our community in regards to, and actually I probably should ask our staff this one, but I would like to see the contract agreement where the town of Hanna takes care of Prairie Land equipment maintenance of the green space there, and how many years ago that was and how long that contract is in place for. Because we have never seen a contract, although our staff maintain the green space. And I understand the sidewalks, and snow on the sidewalks around that green space. So I'm just curious about the contract agreement that's incurred around all of those activities.
I don't know, that's before my time, if there was an actual
mine too.
contract. I know that right now the provincial government has mandated school divisions and I think municipalities to review and update their joint use planning agreements. And that has to be done, I think, by June 2026 now, if I remember correctly. So something like that would fall under that, because we have joint use agreements that cover us using your arena and your pool.
Yes.
Town residents using the school for different things. So there's a lot of sharing that happens between the two entities. So that would fall under that. So I would doubt, I can't speak for certain, that there's a contract for that specific piece of land, but something like that would fall under a joint use agreement between entities.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
One giant snow pile, one giant one for tobogganing purposes only.
That is essentially what it is.
Holy Matterhorn.
The only trouble, and Matthew kind of alluded to it, is the process right now that there is for, if a developer, somebody came along and wanted that piece of land, because we own it and have to go through multiple ministries, it's going to be a long process. If we were able to flip it to the town for whatever purpose, or however you guys want to work that out, you guys can move a lot quicker on a potential deal than we can. We're bound by a whole lot of other regulations before we can dispose of property. That being said, kind of your point about snow and the liability that we currently hold on that, but don't have a use for it. And as Councillor Warwick mentioned, the degrading playground, I can see in the very near future Prairie Land disposing of this property one way or the other. So if the town wants to have control on what happens with it in the playground, this might be something that we look at doing. If not, I'm sure Prairie Land will start going down other avenues.
But we don't have no control over what happens to the playground if you sell it to a developer.
Well,
That's our main objective here, right?
Depending on what you do, so you could subdivide out the playground if you want before you sell it, but then that would limit the amount of lots, so.
Again, it just puts another liability on the town.
You're saying you want to get rid of that playground?
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying if we have to look after it and maintain it once we buy it. And if we don't sell it to a developer in the next 25 years or whatever it's gonna take to get rid of it, then it's our liability.
Correct. But I don't, I mean, we have so many liabilities that we have already. I don't see that a playground is a liability. I look at it as an asset and a potential for future assets. Maybe the equipment is antiquated. I haven't been on a slide for a long time. But maybe we need to upgrade it.
But
And if it's our property, then we can upgrade it to whatever standards we want.
So anyway, Maryland's motion still stands. So our board has directed us to go ahead and enter into some kind of a deal. I can go back to the board, obviously, with changes, depending on which direction the council wants to go. So I guess it's kind of in your guys' hands right now. If you want to proceed with something, you can let us know. Or I guess if the town's not interested, that's fine too. Please let us know so that we can look at other avenues.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any other questions? That said, if something comes up tomorrow, this afternoon, get it to Matthew. Matthew will get it to Mark, and we'll hopefully got some more answers for you if you have questions. In the meantime, thanks, Mark, for coming and clearing up some of the rumors in the small community. So awesome. Motion to thank Mark for coming in. Council Warbeck, all in favor? Gary.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark. And you were excellent in the play.
Thanks.
Ultimate toboggan hill. So the biggest toboggan hill that there possibly can be.
First broken arms.
Absolutely. That's called childhood.
In this world. All liability.
Yeah, that's close to the hospital.
Next up is the Palliser Air Shed. Laura is with us on Lorna, sorry. Laura. You would call worse by nice people, I'm sure, so.
Norma sometimes.
No, Norma sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes Lauren, because they think I'm a woman.
Yeah, well,
But that's all right.
yeah.
So I sent a couple of things. One was a PowerPoint thing, but I can put it up myself. And did you get those?
Yeah,
Matthew?
they should be coming
Okay.
up soon.
So there we go. We'll start with this one. So I'll just do a little introduction on myself first. My name's Lauren Morishita. I live out on a farm out by Brooks. If you know where Duchess or Rosemary is, that's where I'm at. I was born in Brooks and raised around there. I tell people I'm a Japanese potato farmer. So that's my kind of history for my family. I went to school as an engineer. I worked in oil and gas for 25, close to 30 years, and I came home to retire. So I'm back on the farm now. A job that came up for me was something where I could kind of keep my scientific roots and my engineering practice, and then also be able to give back to the community. And this showed up, the Palliser Airshed Society. So Palliser Airshed monitors the air we breathe outside in southeast Alberta, so we can get started here. And there we go. So is anyone familiar at all with an airshed? So I noticed on the agenda, airshed's one word, but that's about all I can add for that. But there's 10 airsheds in Alberta, so right now you can see anywhere where there's color on the map indicates an airshed. You can also see that there's a lot of area that doesn't have an airshed. So airsheds are usually grassroots things. So a community, there's a need for it, an airshed gets formed. The Palliser Airshed was formed as a result of a lot of industrial activity in the Medicine Hat and Red Cliff area. and then the town wondering how it was affected. So then we developed things that we call them community monitoring stations. So any of the industries that were emitting have obligations under their approvals to monitor their emissions, but what Palliser does is we focus on the community monitoring. So right now we have community monitoring in Medicine Hat, in Brook. You guys are touching me. Up here now in Hanna and down at Raymond right now. And I heard Raymond mention earlier in the meeting. So a lot of the other air sheds, you think about something, the one way up at the north was formed because of oil sands, so that's Wood Buffalo. Cold Lake, similarly, oil sands and other, those kinds of extractions. Heartland is around electricity and concentrated industrial activity in the Heartland area. Red Deer, primarily oil and gas, but then they also have some plastics and natural gas facilities in that area. Calgary, obviously, for the big city, but then also the surrounding area. So most of our pollutants here, the Palliser air shed is probably one of the most varied air sheds in the province in terms of oil and gas is a lot of it, but then there's also electricity generation from the city of Medicine Hat itself, and then up in this area at Sheerness. And then there's a lot of other things like greenhouses, potato dehydration facilities, sugar beet dehydration facilities, all those things have emissions, feedlots and those kinds of things. So those are all the different stuff that we have. Fertilizer is another one. So there's fertilizer in Medicine Hat. There's Can Carb that does black carbon stuff. There's insulation facility in Red Cliff, and then there's also things like methanol and methanol. So there's a lot of varied things. So we have sector representation. I'll just get you to zoom out if you're curious about this. We're trying to work on some stuff around Lethbridge here to see if we can bring them into an airshed. They've never had an airshed in the Lethbridge area. So when the big municipality doesn't want to join, it's hard to get something started. So the city kind of has to come to the table. We're also looking at seeing if we can take Drumheller and add a facility there. Okay. We can look at the next slide just to, or maybe we'll go back to that first slide and make sure I didn't miss anything if you're curious. So primarily what we do is we collect and we distribute it at ambient air quality, so outside only, right? We audit and maintain all the equipment in accordance with rules from the province. And then we have to report everything to provincial authorities. So when there's exceedances, like during wildfire smoke season, which is our primary exceedance, we would be delivering that information right away and making sure. And then we also have an obligation to inform and educate, which is part of what I'm doing here today with the town. So how air quality works on the next slide is looking, so quite often we'll have things like a need, so that's whatever it is, whether it's industry or other industrial activity. Keeping in mind that probably our primary pollutant, just for everyone, is vehicles. But we don't have any mandates for any non-point source emitters, so vehicles is our big one, but so we'll see that in our numbers. There's generally speaking an airshed monitoring system. Lots of the bigger permanent ones would look like a ATCO trailer type of thing. The one we have here in Hanna is what we call an air pointer. I have a picture of it. It's about the size of a refrigerator and it's kind of more compact. The one we borrow from the province because a while ago when I think it's Kim Neal was the CAO, we had an opportunity to get a portable unit from the province. And so we put a bid into the province with Kim to say, we'll operate it, we'll station it here at Hanna at the library, and then we'll give information for this community. And I think we were gonna get it for 18 months. We were unsuccessful on the bid. The unit actually went to Chestermere. And so for the first year, we put in what was called a purple air. So that's primarily measuring particulate matter, and it's a sensor, not a monitor, so it's not as accurate, sometimes reads higher than a normal one because it's really affected by relative humidity. And so we had that at the library first. And so smoke is still the most prominent pollutant. And even when you look at things like vehicle exhaust and other emissions from any kind of combustion, PM is one of the biggest pollutants from that too. So that's where we catch that. And we watch for the PM 2.5. And that's not nuisance dust. That's the dust that you can breathe all the way into your lungs and then have it get into your lungs and affect your breathing. So from there, we give real-time information. And of course, if you guys ever watch our station, Hanna right now, we're trying to replace the modem. It had a 3G modem in, and all of a sudden, like most of the time, your 3G stuff keeps working and working. Because we're non-for-profit, we kind of run to failure on things like modem, because we're still collecting the data even when the modem isn't working. So we're trying to get a modem, but the modem has to be configured with this particular unit, which is an air pointer. It's older, so it's just taking some time to get it. It could be another 3 weeks. In the meantime, we're having intermittent service where we're downloading the data, but we're not seeing real-time information. But we're in a good time of year where there probably aren't a lot of what I would call events, and we can kind of see it in the other ones and look at it in the monthly reports. So real time is a big part of it.
Could I just ask a quick question? It was my understanding that there's a very small, and I'm probably using the wrong term here, but
Okay.
very small monitor on this particular building, and that was done first, and then a year or two later, the larger.
I thought we
one
put
at
it on the library.
A year
The
later,
purple air, did it end up here? I thought it was on the library.
then a year or two later, a larger system at the
Yeah, yeah.
library.
Yeah, so the
there's
little, I think we put it at the library than the first purple air.
No,
Oh, okay, it was here. Okay, I couldn't remember. Sorry, that's my mistake. Because it's something I don't operate. It just runs and we see the data. So if it's on the town building, it's only about this big. It's about the size of a softball.
yeah,
And it has 2 sensors on, or 2 scales on it, so we can check one relative to the other. And that's how we kind of see that it's working okay.
but there's 2 monitors in town, then, is that?
Yeah, so the purple air,
Instead of.
and then the other one is the one on this we call a sensor. So it's not a monitor, and the one at the library is a monitor.
I see.
Okay, so the monitor means if it's accepted data to the province. The purple air is a community kind of crowd sharing system that gives an indication. It'll tell you whether it's better than yesterday or.
And it doesn't feed data then?
It can, you can go right to the purple air site and see it every second,
So are both then collecting and submitting data into one repository?
no.
Oh, okay,
Only the one at the library submits to the province
okay.
and a real-time system. And the purple air is a company that was originated in, I think, somewhere in one of the Midwestern states from an engineer that said, hey, I'm worried about a gravel pit by my house. And he wondered if what size the dust was and if any of the dust was affecting human health. And he built it. And now they're all over the world. So if you go to the purple air site right now, you could look at data in China or any place where you have Wi-Fi. And the person that put in the monitor said, I'll go public. It's available there. So it's a pretty good thing. We'll also be able to see trends in the province. So the one who got it, Hanna, I think, Palliser Airshed bought, but ECCC, so Environment and Climate Change Canada, wanted to make sure they had better smoke systems with all the wildfire systems that we have are coming through the province right now and through the rest of Canada. They gave us a whole bunch of them. So Palliser Airshed got them from the province or got them from the federal government. And we put them in just about any community that was over about 500. So we have about 23 in Southeast Alberta. I'll show that a little bit. So that real-time stuff, you'd have to go to Purple Air to see that. And then people are always looking at what does the data mean and evaluating and checking it. So the real-time data, sometimes what we'll see is we have to validate it at the end of every month. So the monthly reports that you guys get to the town are always lagging. So those ones come in and right now, you've already had September. I'm just reviewing October now, but That's kind of how far we are behind, about a month to maybe 60 to 90 days behind. And then once that's validated, it goes into the province and it goes into the air data warehouse. Short term, you can see it real time and see any trends, but don't be surprised sometimes that those short-term trends, when it goes to the provincial one, they change a little bit. And they might change because we have to flag out anything during calibration so that it doesn't get included in the data. So when we're fixing something or changing something, or what we might find out is when we do a calibration that it didn't calibrate accurately, so then we have to take out the data for so many days before that calibration. So those kinds of things happen. So there's two sources. There's the real-time data, which is on the Alberta AQHI map. I'll show you that. And then there's the provincial air data warehouse, which is the permanent data with all the reasons why anything was flagged out. And mostly calibration. So how we describe air quality is called the Air Quality Health Index. Are you guys familiar with that at all? I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a basic color scale. If you look on any American or most of the international ones, maybe with the exception of Australia and New Zealand, all theirs start with green or starts with blue. And then, so at low risk for almost all the population, it's do what you normally do outside. You should be okay. And most of the time in Alberta and in Hanna and in anywhere, we're sitting firmly in the blue. We have good air movement. We have a good regulatory system that makes sure emitters have dispersion models, good stack heights and good temperatures, that it disperses the pollutions up high, and then we don't get a high concentration where we live and breathe. So that's in the blue. Sometimes we'll get to moderate. Moderate can happen during inversions in the weather. So maybe if you have a large concentration of population, maybe not so much maybe in Hanna, but maybe even in Brooks, but definitely Medicine Hat and in the bigger cities where that concentration, we get a trap, we get warm air aloft, trapping all the cold air in the wintertime, and it'll trap the pollutants down low. So normally those pollutants would disperse, but we have things called Chinooks around here, and we get that, we can trap. So anytime we have an air quality event, you can probably take it back to weather. Weather means the wind moved it here, or the weather trapped it here, okay? So in moderate, there's certain groups of the population, and maybe we'll go up to the next slide, where we might give different health messages. So in the moderate things, we divide up the population into two groups. One's called at risk and one's called the general population. So at risk population include people with underlying health conditions that could be asthma or COPD. It also includes really young people and the elderly. So they're all affected by air quality different. But what you find about air quality is you got to realize it's very personal. So when you're feeling something, you can look at the air quality and say, oh, maybe this is why. But none of these numbers can tell you how you feel. So air quality is really about paying attention to yourself. So we'll give a statement in this yellow category. And so we'll talk about consider for the at-risk population, rescheduling strenuous activities for outdoors if you experience any symptoms. So symptoms could be a cough, a runny nose, any irritation in the throat, similar to a cold, right? And it'll be a sudden onset that you can't explain. So pay attention to that. So we encourage you we tell you to not go outside, but then we're also telling you by the cold areas that you're going inside. So you have to think about what your inside air quality is too. And then for the general population, we say you're probably okay. So no need. So kind of that working population outside between, 18 to 40 or 50, those guys are probably okay to be outside. At 7, everyone's affected. So we get into the red. So now we tell people not to consider, but we say definitely, you should be reducing your activity. 7s happen when you get on your phone a special air quality statement. So you'll see that on any of your weather apps. It'll say there's a chance of a special air quality statement today. Right away, if you're in the at-risk category or you love someone that's in the at-risk category, really think about how your day goes. It doesn't mean stay shut up inside forever, but really limit your outside activity and definitely don't do anything strenuous. So that's where we talk about children and the elderly not being outside a lot in those days. Really think about, is it a good thing? Maybe recess is okay, but maybe lunch hour isn't. Okay, so those are the things that you need to consider. Yeah, so, and take it easy. Don't try to do anything where you're really breathing hard, because that's just gonna bring more pollutants into your lungs. So, and even the general population, we tell them, consider now. So think about how you feel, right? So maybe, maybe you, run every day. Well, maybe you wouldn't run, maybe you walk on this day in the general population. And then at 10 plus, that's where you'll get, I think at that point it's called an advisory now, and then we'll just say avoid, don't do it. But so something that I always ask the towns or municipalities that I talk about it, do you guys have a safe place for people to go when there's an air quality event? And that's something the town could be thinking about. And that for them to be able to answer, they need to understand the air quality on any of their inside facilities, whether it's a rec center or something like that. And then also in schools, when we're having kids inside at schools, is it a safe place? And then also when we're inside, it means shut everything. We've done some studies before where even, someone will think, yeah, they're inside, they'll open their window. We'll go in and out 20 times. None of that works. But stuff that does work for inside air quality, is if you have, our smoke events always happen when it's hot, so air conditioning is helpful. You can also do, we show on our website and on our social media, just to do a homemade air filter, and that's just a box fan and a really good, furnace filter. So, as long as it's MERV 13 or better, you can just put that in your house, even if you put it on there with a bungee, or even if you don't attach anything. Just putting that on with the filter and it just circulating there, it'll clean the air in your home. So those are things to think about. And we even tell the general population to start reducing. So people hardly ever want to cancel outdoor events, but they should really think about it at this point, or at least get people aware that if there is an outdoor event, for them to take breaks inside. So say it's during Stampede, well, let's make sure everybody, you wouldn't want to spend more than an hour outside if you're in Calgary at a Stampede event. I know that they canceled maybe one golf event once, not for the final day, but they canceled the practice round once at a big event in Calgary for a sanctioned event. I think it was women's.
There's been a
event.
few football games delayed and canceled.
Yes, so the CFL went one more step besides having the air monitor in whatever cities there are, because every city with the CFL team would have a central monitor. They've gone and added purple airs right at the stadium, so they did that, I think, a couple of years ago. The Alberta Soccer Association has some decision criteria around canceling events and things like that. So those are things to consider. And masks are also a valuable thing that you can try, because, and if you're like the town I'm from, in Dutchess this year when we had lots of smoke events, of course, we had tons of masks left over from COVID. Not that we're allowed to say COVID, I'm not really in this province loud. But lots of masks help too. So if you have to be outside or even just take a short walk, wear a mask. So those are the things about the air quality health index. This is probably the most important thing that we talk about, is just to try to give guidance. But really, people have to pay attention to themselves and their loved ones.
So Warren, if there was a warning alert, something that had to be sent out, would that come from your group or would that come from the province?
All our information is going real time to the province and to Environment Canada. Environment Canada issues the warnings that show up on your weather, any weather app.
So you're not actually doing any ciphering of data, you're just.
No, we're taking it right what it is. So we could be wrong. So we might be over predicting, but generally speaking, when that goes out, it's on a scale that's way bigger than say the size of Hanna. It's on a scale that would be provincial, and we could look at smoke maps and other things. There's Canada has a smoke map, if you're familiar, Blue Sky. There's a link to it, I think, on our website, and you can look and they kind of try to guess, because it's really a weather thing, how smoke's gonna move, right? So the Environment Canada guys are the ones who are predicting.
But if there was an event in Hanna.
A local event in Hanna.
Correct.
So you guys this is where we're more complicated. So Environment and Climate Change Canada doesn't look really hard right now at our portables. So they'll consider it in some information. They're working on something called AQ on the grid, where they do a grid system and would include every area. Right now, special areas is one giant block. And if they saw smoke coming into this area, it would all get the same warning. But you find if you look at the purple areas and the monitoring we have here, there'll be different levels. But generally speaking, I think I was through here when there was a really bad smoke event from Saskatchewan. So it mostly hung around Empress, Oyen, got a little better at Consort. So those guys were maybe 6 and 7. You guys were at 4. So it just really depends. You guys get more hit. Like a few guys, I would put Edmonton in my phone too and Red Deer, because that's generally speaking the ones that are gonna get it. So in my phone, I kind of try to have some leading factors. And then when there is events that are probably in this kind of maybe over 4 or so, I'll put it on social media. I could also send you guys an email to the town if the town wanted to do something with that. But definitely in the red, the town might want to consider, hey, the rec center is free today or something like that. And we're opening it up for everybody. But before you did that, you'd have to understand your issues on what the air quality is inside before you offered it as a state payment. And the schools would be similar.
And so Hanna, does the local lagoon here, does it ever trigger?
No, I would guess not. A lot of things for the local lagoon to trigger something. So right now, because we're just measuring PM, probably not. So we don't monitor odor. That's not our job. So generally speaking, odor hasn't been dictated by the province or by the federal government as a health issue. It's maybe a mental health issue, but it's not considered a physical health issue, odor. So we're monitoring the pollutants that can come right into your lungs. So that, normally most dust and stuff, just the hairs in your nose and the way your whole system works, you'll cough out most of it or you won't let it get past, right? But when those are so small, you don't have a mechanism to get in. So nitrogen dioxide, really small molecule. Ground level ozone, really small. PM 2.5. So we're talking about something that's smaller than 1/10 of a human hair. That's the stuff we're measuring. If you can see the dust, that's not the dust we're measuring. Okay? So we don't do nuisance dust either.
So that would include alkali then? Is that another?
Alkali would not be something we measure specific unless it's in a small molecule, so small it would be PM. Like when just a small portion of it. So we'll look at, some people do some studies and look at what's made up in the particulate matter to see what it is. Oh, did it come from smoke? Did it come from other chemicals, VOCs and other things, okay? But we don't specifically
So it
measure.
doesn't differentiate between alkali and sulfur.
No, it does
dust
not,
and-
because when it gets into your lungs, it's not so much what the chemical is, it's the fact that it's taking a place in your lungs of where air should be,
Okay.
right? And it's really hard to cough it out. Is question back yet?
May I ask a question? I really enjoyed your presentation. I have a couple of questions. The first thing is, could you kindly roll back to the slide you showed about pollution in China? I'd like to know what.
No, we're not dealing with China.
I didn't have anything on. You can look on purpleair.com.
Okay, next question. Other regulatory bodies in Hanna regulating and checking on an MFDS that the materials entering into Hanna area and exiting Hanna area. Do you have such regulatory bodies?
No, that wouldn't be in my purview. MSDS and other things like that, and I don't even know if I should be speaking to it, would fall under OH&S, so that's not our
Do we have an
purview.
OHS office in Hanna?
Pardon?
Do we have an OHS?
I don't know that. That's not my job. So I'm a non-for-profit. I don't represent the government either, you guys. I represent a community group. So, I just wanted to give this is from 2024. So what I would consider a pretty good, wildfire year. And what we can see is from 0 to 100% of the time, here's what we have. We're blue, right? So we're in that good part of the AQHI. most of the time. So in some of the bigger cities like Calgary, Edmonton, you can see St. Albert, Fort McMurray and Fort McKay show up on there, and Anzac and Fort McKay, because those guys were affected by wildfire smoke. So even then, this is 100, this is 90, this is 80. So even the people that were like right in the thick of it in wildfire smoke, and even in big cities, 80% of the time and better. So, and then even yellow, and then just a tiny bit of red. When you see these really long standing reds, they're all wildfire smoke. So, our air shed, which is, we're way down here at the bottom here. Here's Lethbridge and, Medicine Hat is right there. So that's Medicine Hat that you can see. Brooks didn't have a full year of operation yet, so I don't have that one on there. And we would have been in the middle in 2024. We moved everything, so we didn't have a full year of our portable. So your portable here didn't start till October 2024. So 2025 will be your first year of data where you'll be able to kind of put your town beside all the other towns in the province. Okay? So, yeah.
Once again, I really enjoyed your presentation, it's so educational. Are these slides available on your website, whatever you presented?
Like all the little bits and pieces of them, are annual reports on there, and it'll have all that. That's right from the air quality report for the province, which is available on the Alberta Airshed Council website.
Regarding the slideshow you showed about China, is that available?
I didn't show anything. I mentioned it, that Purple Air will even show information in China where they have Wi-Fi.
Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't put any physical slides on that. So I'm just gonna show you what our, this is our monitoring network, so you can kind of see. So, Medicine Hat and Brooks have permanent stations. Here's our mobile ones, which are here in Hanna, and then the Purple Air sensors, and then we also have passive. So all these little purple things are where we have Purple Airs. Your AQHI kind of is right over top of your Purple Air now. It kind of dominates over that. But, and then there were passives here too. So these ones had sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide, and that's probably because around in this area there would have been, we were trying to probably capture that from Sheerness when they burned coal. And Sheerness themselves have their own monitoring station, but now they don't have it. Now the natural gas, their emissions have dropped so significantly, and sulfur dioxide especially is eliminated, and their PM has gone down significantly as well. So now, they have to do emissions or stack monitoring, and they don't have to have a remote station anymore. We'll keep this one going to look at the difference. We haven't, sulfur barely blips, so obviously they had a good model to keep the pollutants up high and out of our way. And then we have a bunch of these other passives that have been ground truthing here since, I couldn't say for sure, but since this airshed started in 2003. So that's kind of our system up here. And you'll find that in special areas, because we don't have a permanent station anywhere, which is what I'm trying to get into Drumheller, our forecasts aren't as good for air quality. They kind of lump us in with other ones, so we don't always get as notices. But if I get to put a permanent station at Drumheller, which I might be able to do because when they stopped monitoring at Sheerness, TransAlta has given us a building and a couple of the monitors inside. So I just have to figure out how to pay to operate it, which costs money, and how I can get the rest of the monitoring equipment, because the province keeps cutting our funding. So if you ever have a chance when you're talking to your MLAs to say air quality is important, please stop cutting their funding. They mostly try to give it all to water. I think air is just as important. Yeah.
If requested, you jot down the key points of your strengths and your weaknesses. And what you do.
This is a public presentation.
Report will have all that stuff in there on our website, but if you give me your information, I can answer that after if you like. Yeah, you can give me your contact information. Here's an example of the building. So at Brooks, the other thing we've been doing is trying to make the buildings kind of be more part of the community. So we're designing building wraps for them. It's really beautiful. This was sponsored by Eco Brooks, which was an environmental group in Brooks, which is sponsored kind of by the town or the city of Brooks itself. And then Alberta Environment and us, we all paid for that. So that's kind of some things we're doing. And maybe if we do more things like that. So yeah, like I said, these are the things we're measuring. We do measure carbon monoxide, if you can believe it, at a lot of the stations. And that's because Environment and Climate Change Canada wanted it. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish in measuring carbon monoxide outside, but it doesn't really tell us anything, just so you know. Ours maybe just barely blips once in a while. Maybe a bad burning engine is nearby, but they'd have to be there for an hour for us to pick it up. So sulfur dioxide, we also measure when there's a big group. So around the Medicine Hat area, there's some sour oil and gas facilities that not really close, but close enough that we test same thing. Sulfur dioxide never blips. The other thing we measure, and this has been more topical when you think about that nitrogen dioxide greenhouse, hydrocarbon would be a greenhouse gas. So we measure total hydrocarbons, same thing in the city of Medicine Hat. It doesn't blip either, but that's kind of to get the methane slip that kind of happens in different process, just because methane's so small that in some of the piping and the fittings, methane can kind of leak out, and then methane is considered a greenhouse gas. So we watch that. And then we do all the meteorological data, which includes wind direction and speed, temperature, humidity, and don't be afraid of this one, solar radiation. Sounds scary, it's sunlight. So we measure the sunlight, and the reason that's really important is because any of our pollutants that have oxygen in them create ground level ozone when combined with sunlight. And that sunlight, it really affects us on still days. So, and any VOCs, so even gas fumes when you're filling up your tank. So on any really still, sunny, long days, we can by evening maybe get into a 4 for ozone. And you might not really think about it, but maybe in the evenings you're feeling like, oh, I'm outside, and if you have any lung issues, you might say, oh, I'm not breathing as good as normal. Air quality's probably, go look at air quality, it might have got to a 4, it's likely ozone. It doesn't happen as much in Hanna because they don't have as many of the other pollutants to create ground level ozone and is concentrated away, but we do see it in Medicine Hat, and we have seen it in Brooks on some days. So Medicine Hat more, there's just that many more pollutants in the air to start it because of the concentration of people, basically. So does that make sense? So that's what we're measuring. Next slide. So that's what your air pointer looks like. So we have stuff sticking out the top. There's some computers inside. It's insulated. The guys don't like it as much in the winter. Their fingers get really cold. They try to move all the equipment into their truck while they're doing it. But that's the one we got. I think that is the one from the province. So all the stuff's inside, and we just measure the 3 parameters that get us to AQHI. Okay, so nitrogen dioxide, ozone. Passives, you might have seen them on a fence maybe when you go by, sometimes wonder what that is. And all we do is we collect little pollutants in there. We take these filters, we give it to the lab, they give us a 30-day average. So we collect them every month. That's what a purple air looks like, just to give you some perspective. I should have put the Hanna one on, but where they're at all over the province. So we have 23 now. And these are really inexpensive. Like if you wanted to get one for yourself because you were curious, like they're, I think about $400 Canadian now. And you order them on the website and they come pretty quick, pretty easy to get.
And the purple air will measure particulates again.
Yes, and it's a very indicative of any emissions that are going on. So whether it's, the nitrogen one, some of them will show up as particles. And anything like that when the dust gets really, really small. So how do we work? We're a non-for-profit, like I said. Our board of directors is all volunteers, but we're really, we call it multi-stakeholders. So we have people from industry, people from municipalities. Our primary municipality one would be the city of Medicine Hat. All sorts of different industries, like I talked about before. We try to get someone from ag, from oil and gas. We call it other industries, and then electric and utilities. So we try to have at least those representative, and we have more than that. NGOs are also on our board. There's a Grasslands Naturalists for Medicine Hat. They have a person on our board right now. And then anyone from the general public, of course, can join as a member or get put on the board. Part-time executive director, that's me. And then we have technical services. So WSP, they're the contractor right now that does our calibrating and maintaining our monitors here. And how do we pay the bill? So, that's our budget for 2025. About 2/3 of it's operating, 1/3 of it's overhead. So that's to pay for people like me, insurance, accounting, because we have to file all those kinds of paper. The website, all those things that it takes to run a business that has no home. So those are the things that we do there. The other 2/3, like I said, are for operating. Where do we get the money from? We get a bunch from membership fees. So we have some compulsory members where the province or the Alberta Energy Regulator will put in their clause to operate that they need to be a member. And that's generally speaking that they probably have a higher emissions. And then we also have voluntary members. So I look at anyone who's emitting. I get that from the National Pollution Database or from the Alberta Energy Regulator. I look at all the flare and vent data, and then I ask them to become members. And we get quite a few actually voluntary members. So Sheerness, for whatever reason, never had a clause. I don't know why, but they volunteered to be a member anyway, and they're a significant contributor, even when they were coal, but they're still pretty significant even with their drop. Okay, and then Alberta Environment gives us the rest of the money. So the community stations like Medicine Hat and Brooks, because that data is going to ECCC, they pay Palliser to operate those. And they give us almost all the money. They give us about 80% of the money, and then we make up the difference. The one here in Hanna, Palliser Airshed pays out of our membership fees, the operating of that particular one, and same thing for our air pointer in Raiden. So that. And we do a lot with a little bit. So we're covering this whole part of the province. We have to calibrate every month. We have to maintain the equipment. Most of the municipalities give us electricity, some don't, that kind of thing. So we're doing all of that. And I think you guys know why we do it, which is on the next slide. Where's the smoke coming from? What's going on? There's a haze. I don't feel good. Can it be controlled? One bullet cleanup. So the more we measure, the more we can figure out these things. Next slide. And then this is my personal one. Is it safe to be outside today or a long period of time? Is it okay for kids to be outside? Is it okay for your elderly community to be outside? Maybe they can't walk over to see the cats, but they can drive over to see the cats at the shelter, right? And working outside and athletics. And then land use planning, just something to think about when you think about we contribute our data will be baseline for anything that comes new and cumulative effect. And if we keep going. And then of course, just information. So the scientific method, validating models, making sure dispersion models work ahead of time, seeing the real stuff. And then environmental awareness. So do we know what's going on and how we affect? So real-time data is available here and there. Download the Weather Can app, and I think that you guys will find even putting Hanna on, you won't ever see the air quality, so pick something close, and you'll have to go to our site, which will direct you to the provincial site to see that. So it'll say right at the top on our page, except for today, that's the G. And the other thing I did want to do, I don't know, Matthew, if you shared that, but it's more for administrators. I sent you guys an odor guide. So that was built by the Clean Air Strategic Alliance. So they built an odor guide, and it'll give you guys a set of questions so that when you get an odor complaint, you might have a list that you might ask about, and then ways to follow up. So I don't follow up on complaints. My job would be if I got a complaint, I would send it to either Alberta Health or what do they call now? Primary Care Alberta. Or I would send it to the Alberta Environment Hotline. And all that information is in that folder manual that I sent for you guys. And then we're trying to get more people to be members in the area, maybe more peripheral, because we focus on emitters, but we get complaints for people that aren't emitters, right? And you guys are familiar with those kinds of things. So I'm just trying to make sure I can give you guys as much information and encourage people that maybe are getting caught in the middle to become a member so they can be part of the conversation. So we'll try to get more members out here in Hanna. If there's anybody you guys think I should solicit for membership, I'll do that. But right now, you guys don't have a lot of big emitters. Very specifically, the closest one you have is Sheerness still. Okay, that's your single biggest emitter, and that's primarily nitrogen dioxide from the combustion of the natural gas making the power, and then some PM 2.5. So I hope this helps and makes you feel, I want you at the end of the day to feel really good about the air quality that we have here. And then to just really pay attention to yourself, the health of yourself, young people or elderly people in your family or people in your family with any underlying health issues, to kind of know there might be days when they feel different than you. And it could be the air quality. So just have a look at what it is, and it might point you in a direction of, hey, yeah, maybe we won't go to the baseball game tonight. We're gonna stay in and think about things like that. Because I can't change the air quality. I can just inform you about it.
Thank you.
And I guess Matthew, that's you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
In here. He's the one who helped us put everything up and stuff.
Discount me on your membership.
No, stop, please, thank you. Stop, please, thank you.
I can get all your information after so we don't disturb the meeting. But if there's any other questions, Matthew has my contact information. You can also get me through the website. We had a question that came from Hanna to ask about sulfur dioxide, and we haven't had Alberta Environment, none of the emitters around here, a reason to have sulfur dioxide, but I don't know, like there's not a reason for us to do it right now. So there isn't any emissions, so like a combustion emission from sulfur dioxide or anything, like there isn't a lot of sour wells around you guys that we see a need for it. But if you guys think that's different, let's kind of pay attention to any complaints that you get and see if we should be monitoring different things here. And we can certainly do that and work with the province to try to figure out how we pay for it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mama. That was very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, awesome.
Yeah.
Marcia, you're in relation to Barry?
Yes, Barry's my brother.
Oh, okay.
You guys were at Alberta Munis
Oh, yeah.
or all those things.
Yes, I know.
Barry's my brother, he's my older brother. Yeah, so he was married.
I just owned him, so that's a good thing.
Even though he's doing most of his work in Saskatchewan right now, I'll just get you a card.
Yeah. So can we get a motion to thank Lauren Knott for the presentation today? Counselor Thurl, all in favor? Carried. Lauren, thank you very much. No problem.
So we can go outside, I exchange my.
Next up is QB and we have Wyatt.
Matt, do you have a presentation?
Yeah.
Did I pass it to you? No, I don't think I did get it. Okay, I'll just forward it to you quickly. Is that it, Wyatt?
Yes, it should.
Okay. Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. So thank you for having me back. I know we've been going for a while, so I'll try and make it short and sweet. Get it done in 15 minutes for you. Those new council members who I didn't get to meet last time, I appeared a couple months ago to present our firm and our product for municipalities. So for those who remember, Cube Investment Management is a registered investment management firm from Edmonton, Alberta, where we service clients throughout Alberta. Currently, we manage about $475 million, which includes retail clients, foundations, endowments, and in the most recent few years, municipalities. So we noticed that municipalities were mostly served by a few large banks, and there's room for improvement. There was capital losses the last few years, so we found there was room for improvement. Sat down, looked at the MGA. Is there a way that we can create a better product than what's out there? We think we have. So that's kind of a quick summarize of what happened in my previous presentation. I chatted with Matthew briefly over email to go over any capital projects upcoming over the next 3 years and the current investments for the portfolio. And I sat down with another portfolio manager and we broke down the current investments, analyzed them, and we created a sample portfolio for the town to review that would serve as an alternative. So this is the current portfolio that the town's invested in as of several months ago. And Matt did send the most recent statements. The current investments are spread out across provincial bonds, one federal bond, and then large Canadian bank bonds. which are fine in terms of issuer, it is MGA compliant. There's a few areas that you want to focus on. You always want to have, sorry, I didn't realize how bright it was. You always want fixed investments, because with fixed investments for municipalities, you know what interest rate you're going to receive for the bonds, which is really important for knowing the cash flows. Here you can see those fixed until 2027, fixed until 2027, fixed until 2029, and so far. Those are callable floating bonds, which means that when it reaches 2027, that bond, the issuer for that first one is Toronto Dominion Bank. So if TD wants to call that bond back, they can, they have the option to, or they can continue, and it's no longer fixed, it's floating, which means you don't know the rate you're going to get. But if the floating rate is really high, you're not going to want to pay the floating rate, which means they're going to call the bond back, which means the best you'll get is the current fixed rate. So that's an issue which we like to have for municipalities. We don't like to dabble in callable floating bonds because there's an increased risk. You want to know exactly when it's going to mature. Secondly, another important part is the maturities, that middle column right there. You can see it goes 2026, 2027, completely skips 2028, 2029, nothing in 2031, nothing in 2033, and that creates an issue because if you have a significant amount of bonds expiring in 1 year, then if interest rates are very low like they were in 2020, well, then you have to reinvest a large portion of the town's funds at that low interest rate. However, if interest rates are very high 1 year and you have no bonds expiring that year, well, then you don't get to partake in that new high interest rate. In order for municipalities to benefit from this, you want something called a ladder, which is when bonds are spread out in terms of maturity. And that's something that I'll kind of get into a little farther in my proposal. So the next slide kind of touches on the areas of improvement, gets a bit deeper. So 16% and 18% mature in 2030 and 2035 respectively. So that's a large portion of the portfolio that you're banking on high interest rates for those specific years, which may or may not occur. The best thing you can do is diversify through maturity and decrease that risk. And there, as I said, there's no investments maturing in 2028, 29, 31, 33. So it exposes the town to reinvestment risk. A second important part, about 35% of the portfolio is invested in floating rate bonds. And those floating rate bonds, unfortunately, they're going to be called most likely if interest rates are high, and if interest rates are low, they're going to keep it going. So it is a nice product in terms of up to maturity, but after that, it gets a bit less certain. The third part is the portfolio's expected return, which was on the previous slide, is about 2.63% after fees is what you can expect moving forward based on current interest rates and maturity. In other words, every year moving forward, based on the current macro environment and the current portfolio, the town can expect 2.63% annual return, which is fair, but it can be improved because as a town, you want to outperform inflation. If inflation's 2% a year, but recently it's been higher, you're not increasing the purchasing power for the town. So you want to increase that expected return while taking on a fair amount of risk. And lastly, this last point here is that the town of Hanna is allowed to partake in corporate bonds, so Canadian National Railway bonds, F4 bonds, Brookfield bonds, Hydro One bonds, those corporations, you are allowed to partake in those if you'd like, and those do allow for additional diversification. So our proposal is twofold, two parts. The first is the bond portion, and the second would be a note portion. I'll get into the notes a bit later on because they're a bit more complicated, but I'll get into the bonds first. The bonds are going to be similar to how the issuers are set up now, because we're only allowed to invest in financial institutions, provincial bonds, federal bonds, but we're also going to add in corporate bonds as well. The maturity position would be different. So instead of having, this much is expiring this year, leave it for years, this much expiring, we're going to have it very much level out in terms of the bond portfolio so that the town is not exposed to that reinvestment and interest rate risk. However, with that said, we are active portfolio managers. So if we do see an opportunity to benefit from the yield curve, with Matthew's permission, we will move those maturities around to get additional yield if the environment allows for that. Our expected return for our bond portfolio, which I'll hop to the next page, is 3.08%, and that is gross return. If you take away our estimated annual fee of 0.41%, our expected return just for the bond portfolio after fees is 2.67%. So our bond expected return versus your current bond expected return are very similar. The main difference comes in reducing risk. So we're able to maintain the same expected return approximately with taking on less risk. All of our bonds are at least A minus or above, which is what you need for the MGA. So this is all MGA approved, but as you can see, the maturity dates there, it's all 2026 for 2 for 2026, 2 for 2027, 2 for 2028. We have 2 bonds expiring every year, ideally every 6 months. Each bond is going to hold 5% of the bond portfolio, so there are 20 bonds in total. Each one is spread out evenly. In terms of issuers, we're going to have we like the province of Alberta, so that is our preference for provincial bonds. We do have some federal bonds increasing from the previous allocation that the town's currently in, and we also have some corporate bonds along with financial institutions. So we are well diversified across each sector. The next slide will kind of go into the benefits of the proposal relative to how the town is currently invested. So the first point is that the credit quality of our proposal is higher than the credit quality of your current portfolio. So if you look at that top row there, you'll see Bank of Montreal, which is the town's current provider, and us. You'll see AAA, AA, single A. Single A is the least credit quality, AAA is the highest, but it goes much further. You can go all the way down to D and goes quite deep, but you're only allowed to invest in A and above municipalities. As you can see right now, the town is about 8% AAA. We want to increase the AAA rating to 25% with our portfolio. So it's an overall safer portfolio. And we'd also be decreasing the amount in A from 43% to 30%. So overall, according to the credit rating agencies, this is a safer portfolio. Our second point, we would expand the number of bonds from 12 to 20. The town's currently invested in 12 bonds. $2.4 million, which is the reserve fund, is quite large. We want to increase that to 20 bonds. Thirdly, we would enhance the diversification by sector. That's into the second row here. So you can see federal government, provincial government, financial institution, corporate for the bond allocation. Right now, Bank of Montreal is very much exposed to financial institutions and provincial bonds with no exposure to corporate and very little to federal. We want to smooth that out, increase the federal bond allocation. We're going to decrease provincial, but increase the amount in Alberta. And then we're also going to increase the amount in corporate bonds, decreasing the amount in financial institutions. So it spreads out that risk again. So we're not only de-risking in terms of maturity, like I mentioned, but we're de-risking in terms of sector as well by spreading out. Right. Oh, sorry, I'm still on that one. So the current portfolio has 35% in floating rate bonds, as I said. So at that point, the issuer has the right to pay a floating rate instead of the fixed rate. We prefer to have fixed rate bonds. We want to know exactly how much interest that the town is going to receive on the bond portfolio. So we're going to have 95% of our proposal is fixed rate bonds. We only have one bond in our proposal, which is floating rate. And the reason is it is an attractive bond and it does have a very high interest rate. So we're okay taking on very little risk in terms of floating rate, but we want almost the entire bond portfolio to be fixed. But the most notable difference, and I think the one that's most important for council to know, is the reduction of reinvestment risk. And it's really, I think, hits home because I'm sure you've seen in the operating accounts of the town in 2022, it was very sky high because of inflation. Bank of Canada rose rates. 2020 was very low because they pumped a bunch of money into the economy. So it's very important to spread out that maturity date. So if we hop onto the next page, you'll see the maturities by time. So on this horizontal axis, you can see the date, 2026 through 2048. The red are the bond maturities for BMO's current portfolio. The blue is what Q does. So as you can see, it is quite exposed to certain years in terms of maturity risk. We really just want to spread that out because say in 2028, 2029, right now, the current portfolio has no bonds expiring. So if interest rates are sky high, then you don't get to partake in that. However, with our portfolio, we would have, 5% each bond, 2 bonds a year, 10% of the portfolio is expiring each year. We can reinvest at a high interest rate. And then that is the duration of our bond portfolio, which would be part of the portfolio. Now I'm going to hop into the next slide, which is the notes portion. The bonds are to allow us to know how much interest the town is going to receive. The notes are going to allow us to outperform the bonds. So when you invest in bonds, you're most likely going to receive 2.5% to 3%, which keeps up with inflation. The MGA allows for notes that are issued by large financial institutions, the big six banks, only if they are fully principally protected. So we have three providers we use for our notes: Scotiabank, National Bank of Canada, and CIBC. They are three providers for our notes, so they create the notes for us for our municipalities. They fully protect every note at maturity, which means regardless on how the note performs, they are saying, we are protecting your money. You will get 100% back of it at maturity, no matter what. So there's no risk of loss of that principal investment, which is the most important part. However, the reason we like it is not only the principal protection at maturity, it's the additional return. So there's two types of notes we're allowed to invest in. One is called an equity linked note, which means it's going to be linked to the performance of the underlying stock market, basket of stocks we choose. This is an example for the town. This first row here, it's the big six Canadian banks equally weighted in a basket of stocks. So those six Canadian bank stocks, National Bank, CIBC, TD, Scotiabank, all together in one. The term is 5.5 years. National Bank created this product and they're protecting that initial investment. And the participation factor is 155%. What that means, that's okay. That means at the end of the 5.5-year term, however well that index of Canadian bank stocks has performed, you get that percentage times 155% in interest. So in simplicity's sake, let's say the Canadian banks over the 5.5-year term perform 100% over 5.5. The town receive 100% times the participation factor of 155%. So essentially what you're receiving in terms of historical return, if historical return persists, Canadian banks perform on average 5.43% per year. The participation factor is 155% though. So the expected return is 8.42% if you multiply those two values. That is the expected return based on historicals. We cannot guarantee that, but it's based on how it's performed historically. The bonds are what we use to make sure the town has cash flow and it's very predictable. The notes are how we are able to add additional return above those bonds. The most important part here is, let's say the Canadian banks tank, we go through a crazy recession, 1930s, very bad. And let's say the Canadian banks at the end of the 5.5-year term, they go down 50%. Well, the town doesn't lose 50% of their investment. National Bank of Canada is protecting 100%. At maturity, they give you back 100% of your investment. We're good. The second part of the note portfolio would be auto-callable notes. Auto-callable notes are the same thing, just with a little twist on it. They're fully principally protected on maturity. We use the three main financial institutions, as I mentioned. And instead of providing a variable return based on performance, they provide a fixed return based on performance. So, for example, this is kind of hard to see. Sorry, I should have made it larger. But this one is attached to large cap Canadian stocks. This is a 7-year product, and CIBC is principally protecting it. These are actual quotes we pulled from our providers. So how this product works is, if the town invested, say, $100,000 for this product, every year CIBC is going to look at this product on the anniversary. If this basket of Canadian stocks has risen above 5%, which is the barrier, if they've risen above that 5% at the anniversary, CIBC has to call back the product, give back the initial investment, plus an interest rate of 8.21%. But let's say that the Canadian stock market doesn't do well for this next year, it goes down. At the second anniversary, they have to revalue it again. Say it is above the 5% mark at the second anniversary. Well, then they have to call it back and they provide not only one 8.2% coupon, but they provide two 8.21% coupons. So you get 8.21% for every year that it's not called. So this is how we provide additional return above traditional bonds. So most of the Canadian banks, they do dabble in these products, they're mainly for counties and RDs that didn't think, but there's no reason why towns can't have a small allocation to them for additional return. And these are all point in time estimates. We get new quotes whenever a municipality wants to invest, so we get more up to date, but these were as of, I believe, a month ago when I sent out the report, so they're a bit delayed, but Bank of Canada hasn't done any egregious cuts recently, so these should be pretty accurate. Fees are the next slide. Also, those notes are kind of confusing, so if you have questions after, I'd be happy to answer those. In terms of fees, the first $2 million, Q charges a fee of 0.4%. The next $3 million is charged at 0.15%, and anything above 5 million gets charged at 0.1%. So it's like first Q 0.4, anything above 0.15, above that 0.1. National Bank of Canada is our custodian. We don't hold the funds in-house. We like to use our custodian for all of our clients' assets because it provides an additional layer of protection. They also provide reporting for us, so I can send NAT reports every month. Right now, based on the statements I saw at BMO, it looks like the town is being charged 0.5%. So if you take a weighted average, the first 2 million for the town of Hanna will be charged at 0.45, the custodial fee, and then the extra $400,000 is a $2.4 million account. The extra $400,000 will be charged at 0.2%. Based on that calculation, our annual fee, which is charged pro rata monthly, is $9,800. BMO's current fee is approximated to be $12,000 based on the latest statements Matt shared with me. So we can save the town an additional $2,200 annually, approximately, on fees. If we hop onto the next slide, kind of touches into expected return. I did want to give you a general idea of what the overall portfolio return would be with the bonds, with the notes. So I did choose asset allocations, 70% to bonds, 15% to equity-linked notes, and 50% auto call notes. That's a placeholder. It's going to depend on the town's capital projects in the next couple of years. Maybe the council doesn't feel comfortable with that amount of notes. Moreover, so based on this weighting though, the town can expect a gross expected return of 4%, a custodial and management fee of 0.41%. The net expected annual return is 3.59% as of, it's a based in time estimate, so it does change, but this was calculated by month. So it should be pretty accurate. And then on the next slide, not only do we offer municipalities an investment management side, we also offer additional services for the council and town. The first is a macroeconomic review. So we would appear as a delegation, again, once a year, and we would provide an update on how the economy is doing in terms of a macro perspective and how also that drifts into the town of Hanna area and how that affected it. So we'd be focusing on GDP, inflation, interest rates, trade, tariffs, and any other factors that may affect the Canadian economy and more over the town of Hanna and the Alberta economy as well. The second service is an annual investment policy review and governance review. So that would be with Matthew. We would sit down and go over the MGA for investments, make sure that the town's investment policy is still compliant with the MGA, make sure everything in terms of governance is good. Do you need to change benchmarks, anything like that? And then the third is additional meetings prior to budget season or audit season as well. If Matthew and his team wanted to get together more often around that time of year and make sure that the portfolio is a perfect reflection of the town's expected cash flow needs, we'd be open for extra meetings prior to budget season, make sure everything is a nice reflection of what the town requires. And that is the duration of my portfolio. I tried to do it short and sweet. Hopefully I didn't take too long, but I'd be happy to answer any questions for the council.
Questions? No.
Why not?
Can I? Do we currently have the additional services through the current financial investment? program?
I don't believe we do. They've never reached out. They just send the monthly reports.
Okay.
But not the.
But we don't, we don't
Not-
have
not-
this kind of resource.
Not the Cuba offering, no.
Okay.
So on other jurisdictions, other municipalities that you run, your standard, like I'm looking at your percentage of portfolio, 70, 15, and 15 between notes. Is that pretty well running on a standard between most of your municipalities, or is it depending on what they're wanting to do on future plans, whether they have any capital stuff coming up, or is this
It's the latter. Okay. One municipality, all of those, they didn't want any bonds, and then there's another municipality that's 100% bonds.
Okay.
So it always depends on what administration has the feeling.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
No.
Okay. I really do appreciate you allowing me to come and, I do like the Hanna. I didn't get to see the goose last time, so it's introduced this time.
Which one?
The Grey Goose motor. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to come. I would appreciate if maybe the council could let me know within the next month, just so I can relay that to the other portfolio managers. But we're also not in a huge rush, but a month would be great. Thank you again, and, very much appreciate your time.
Thanks, Wyatt. Appreciate it.
Motion to thank Wyatt for presentation, for information. Councilor Rohrbach, all in favor? Carried. Need an adjournment for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay,
I got it, well, I'll be gone.
okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna adjourn here for a couple minutes just to have a box stretch and bathroom break and yes.
So.
Sorry, buddy. So I don't know, normally if we have to, yes, we have, well, we have to acknowledge that Fred is left.
Yeah.
Okay. Public presentations. Martha? Sandra, no. Hearing none. We'll move on to CEO report, Matthew.
Okay, the council, you'll see on these meetings and our regular council meetings, staff will provide a report to council. So usually in this one, it's just me that provides a report to council. So it's just a general overview of what things we've been doing, trying to highlight things. Usually we wouldn't read it out word for word what we've been doing because you guys have had the chance to read it. But if you have any questions or regarding what we've been up to, we can answer questions. So again, it's just mine for this meeting, but there's a overview of what we've been working on.
Just, are we considering having our strategic planning meeting possibly in January?
January, the difficulty is I've talked to a couple people and their quotes are roughly the same, $10,000 to $13,000 to do that. As we've not got that approved in budget as of yet, it's going to get delayed, which is kind of fine because we have new councillors and they're still getting up to speed with everything. So to hit everybody with a strategic planning meeting that early, so it might be, but depends how quickly we get budget approved and then we decide on. There's two people for the strategic planning that I talk to. Like there's companies that do it, but they kind of do it for corporate. They're trying to find people who do it for municipalities is, I think it would be beneficial for us. So there's two that I kind of narrowed it down to. I think one plans on attending our next council meeting.
And do you think that is a 1 to 3 day kind of, or is it a 1 day kind of summary?
I think they're all different, like how they do it. So, the idea is like the one wants to come down and talk to us and figure out what our expectations are. Because I don't think they just want to roll out a blanket thing for every municipality. So he wants to know what our expectations are, what council wants to get out of it, what staff do as well. So yeah, so we'll try to pick the best one.
Thank you.
And we've got Michelle coming up next.
She's here, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm not there to join you guys in person today. I'm in Edmonton for the FCSS conference this week. So joining from the hotel. So for those of you that I haven't met before or are new to council, Michelle Taves, your community services coordinator. I do that role as contract. So I'm not always in the office Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. But if you don't already have my cell number, it is on the cards out front. Under my role, I act as our FCSS director, which I'm also the one of the two East Central reps for the Directors Network Board. I also take care of emergency social services for the town, including participation in our regional plan as the ESS lead for that with the Special Areas Group. And I also sit as the South Central rep with ESS at the provincial level as well. And then my job outside of that covers kind of some recreation opportunities and other miscellaneous duties as assigned. Lots of times being the person that sits on different committees and things on behalf of the town if they require staff participation in those. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys that high level overview for those of you who are new. Today, Matthew asked me to come and speak specifically about one program that we run out of Community Services Department that we're going to want some direction going into budget on, and that councillors of the previous council had some questions about our process for setting up. So that program is Music in the Park. So for those of you who may or may not be familiar, in the summer months, in July and August, we run a free weekly music event at Hector King Hunter Park. So we use the stage off the back of the community center with the inside of the community center as the backup weather location, and invite folks to come to the park to enjoy the live music. program is free to attend. They do pass a jar for a silver collection to tip the artists, so people can participate in that if they like, but we don't charge an admission fee. So the program is funded and directed by the town, but then we have a small team of volunteers that lead the project, and then we have some summer student support staff with that. So what that looks like is council approves our total budget for the summer. And then I work with our volunteer coordinator that she goes out and then books the artists. Lori's team, her and Katie work with us on this as well to provide support with the advertising. And then the pool manager helps schedule pool staff. So some of our lifeguards that are able to pop over and help set up the tents and some of the stuff on the stage, unlock washrooms in the park, that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess I'm open to take questions from council. I know there's some questions before about this program, so happy to take any questions and explain further.
Well, Michelle, I'll ask the first question if that's okay, Mr. Mayor. We use the term volunteer, and I guess I'm gonna question what that means. To me, when I volunteer for the things I do, I don't get paid for it. So it is my understanding that the volunteers that work for this Music in the Park get paid.
So we don't
and then also require some amount of staff time, which are also being paid. We bring the pool staff over, I've noticed, because I've participated in these events, which also are paid staff that participate in setting up tents, the space and taking down tents and certain things like that. So I think the term volunteer is used very loosely. These are paid individuals that are paid to actually do this job. And it's a nominal amount, I understand that, but they are still paid to do this.
So yeah, I can kind of go through the financials, might be helpful for everybody to kind of wrap their head around cost of the program. So we do have 2 primary volunteers that assist. We don't pay them a salary or a wage for that. We do pay an annual honorarium in the form of chamber bucks for them. This year, our total cost for the chamber bucks for those honorariums was $1,100. So we have 2 primary volunteers, one that kind of does the booking and organizing, that side of things with the talent, that received a $500 honorarium. A second volunteer that takes care of the more technical sound equipment side of things, who also gets a $500 honorarium. And then we had some coverage while some people were away this summer. So there was a third volunteer that we did offer a $100 chamber bucks to. So that's $1,100 in that honorarium cost for the volunteers, well below minimum wage payment for them when we work out the man hours that they're putting into the project. Outside of that, the actual artist fees this summer, it worked out that there was 9 Sundays. So sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 9, just depending on how the summer falls. Total cost for those 9 artists was $6,200. So we generally book them at $600 to $800 an artist. Depends on sometimes if it's a solo artist or a larger group and their going rates, but we do get a pretty good deal on the talent going with a Sunday afternoon when they're maybe traveling home from other shows that they've had on the more popular Friday and Saturday evenings. Then we also have some budget that's spent on supplies. So we do hand out water to everybody that's there, and then they do purchase some small snacks and beverages for the artists as well. So it's about $1,100 that's spent on that. So the total, cash outlay that we're writing direct checks for there is about $8,400 total between the artist fees, the honorarium, and those supplies. Then speaking to staff time, a little bit of my time off the top of the year, meeting with our volunteer that's helping coordinate things. It's not a ton of my time now that we're kind of in a routine of having done this multiple years. Then Lori can maybe speak more adequately to how much time Katie puts in, but she does have more responsibilities getting all of the posters and the things for the flyer and the website and social media involved. Lori, I don't know if you have an estimation of hours or if that's something you'd be able to break down.
I could do an estimation, not off the top of my head. When we get, the first year was a little bit of, but it was interesting because we were all learning. Now that it's more established, the information comes in, it starts coming in the beginning quarter of the year. So I can start pulling together schedules and planning for how those promotions are going to roll out gathering the photos, the bios. They've been repeats the last couple of years, so it's just a matter of updating the existing photos and bios depending upon what the artists want. So there's definitely time involved in doing that, but I don't know the numbers off the top.
Yeah, then there'd be a little bit of time of
That is paid for, sorry, Michelle.
Go ahead, yeah, and then we use our existing, advertising already, so it's not an additional ad or anything like that we're taking out. Winona's team, Caitlin, would have a little bit of involvement, just issuing the checks for the artists. She takes care of that for us. And then our pool manager does some time scheduling, so they're spending a few hours kind of getting it set up with the expectations for the summer staff. And then we do send pool staff over for setup and takedown. Over the years, we've done a variance of things there. Sometimes we've sent them, at the start of a shift, so they go over, do that, and then they return to the pool, do some work there, and then go back over to do cleanup. This year, the pool manager wanted to try having them actually just stay at the park and do some community engagement work. So they were engaging with families and offering some of that sort of atmosphere in the park, helping hand out the waters, doing things like that. So that's something we could reassess. Knowing we don't break out the staff hours to track down to that granular of a level all the time. So I would only have an estimation of staffing costs on that, but there is some staff involvement, but there's definitely a lot of man hours put in by those few volunteers that we do pay the honorarium to. Did that answer, Councillor Warwick, kind of what you were looking for in?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I do have another question then. Prior to having an appointed member in the community doing this, did we not have a staff member that organized and orchestrated this event?
So the program started before I was in this role. For the entirety of the time that I have been here, this has been the format where we have had a volunteer that's done that sort of talent acquisition piece and the hosting piece, as well as that sound piece. So in my time with us, we haven't had a staffer that directly managed the program.
Okay, and I guess the other concern I have is when we do pay people honorariums, per diems, or any kind of funding that goes from the town, do we not per se tender these processes out and give people opportunities? I know we have people in place and they've been doing a very good job and we value music in the park in this community. But in fact, is there opportunities ever given to anybody else to do any of these positions?
So we haven't had a tender process, given I think the size of what the dollar value would be. Certainly if someone else approached, if a group said we're interested in running this, could we have a conversation? I think Matthew and myself would be open to having that chat, but currently it runs well as is. I don't know if there's any official policy that's ever been in place for any other program when it comes to these per diem levels of, where you'd find comfort with that threshold of how much we could give an appreciation to a volunteer. I know some of our other committees, I can speak to Community Services Board, for example, we generally host a Christmas meal with them, or in years where that wasn't possible, we've sent them, a Christmas basket. We have volunteers that work with our volunteer income tax program that we often give a thank you of either some chamber bucks or a cookie platter at Christmas or something like that. So we do have other examples of sort of that smaller honorarium or gift that we don't go through an official tender process on, but it would look for your guys' direction on how you want to see that work going forward.
Just a note of reference, we do have an Arts and Entertainment Council, Front Row Center, which has been an active community, non-for-profit organization in this community for several years. So I guess that's where I question when we appoint individuals versus these non-for-profit organizations that in fact do this very thing. So,
I guess with Front Row Center and, we certainly would entertain a proposal. I know that generally they're looking to run events where they can make a bit of money for the association, for the other events you guys put on, have that seed money for your group. And so I guess whether there be interest when we don't have a way, like when the town's mandate so far on this program has been for it to be free for people to attend. And so if Front Row Center was interested in something like that, where there wasn't that ticket profit to be made, would certainly entertain a conversation and a proposal.
Well, I think at a total of $8,400, if that was paid to the organization, that would be, a profit margin for the organization.
And yeah,
as
so
a
just some
whole.
conversation there, I guess, about deliverables as far as council and administration's expectations of the program, and then whether that's something that would work with Front Row Center and whether an agreement came to on that.
Yes, and I would agree with you there. Yes, thank you.
Anything else for Michelle?
So that begs the question then, just to take that a step further, because now my brain is thinking about this a little bit differently. That if that was a program run by a different organization, but the town funded it, is that something that would go to the Community Services Board grant, which this council hasn't been brought up to speed on the changes that the previous council had requested or approved?
Which is a very good question.
Just a point that's.
Yeah, Lori, I think we'll be work in progress with that of how to handle these sorts of things if it's kind of that unique piece there with our new CSB policy. But yes, it could be something that we looked at through that to grant the dollars directly to another group, and then just having clear understanding of responsibilities of some of the supports the town has provided currently, and whether those would go with a granted program or whether we'd be a bit more hands-off.
This is actually funded through the FCSS grant funds that we received too, so.
Yeah, so there'd be some expectations there. I would have to have some ability to track data for reporting purposes as well. If those dollars are what we use for it, council, of course, would have the ability to take the dollars from elsewhere, and then it doesn't have to fit as closely into the FCSS mandate.
It's a very valuable event in our community. And I think anybody that has participated or can participate really value, that opportunity to enjoy the musicians that can and do come over those summer months. I've heard lots of very positive comments in regards to that, so.
Yes,
there has been.
It's been positive feedback from the community.
There has been some concern, and that was addressed at this council in regards to, passing a bucket around and, stating that it is a free event and then passing a bucket around and asking people to contribute money. There were people that were offended. We made it very well known that you don't necessarily have to donate funds, but the musicians usually don't make a lot of money and are not paid a lot to come here for that event. So that is valued with what they can take in as well.
I don't think it should be offensive. I think it's just if people do want to donate, it is a good way to be able to do it at the event. And if you don't want to donate, pass the bucket and don't put anything in it.
Okay, any other questions of Michelle? Once I threw you that, you had a hum there?
No.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, guys, and I guess we will circle back at your next council meeting for any decision points on this and go from there. Thank you.
Have fun.
Thanks, Michelle.
We will. Thank you, guys.
All right. So motion to accept CEO report. Do we need two motions though? CEO report and Michelle's report for information. Councilor Orbeck, all in favor? Carried. Council roundtable, we've been here for a long time, folks. I think on recommendation of one of our leaders, we could just set our budget dates or proposed budget dates.
I just need some dates so I can bring it back to the December meeting to get approved. Just ideas of when you guys are available. It would have to be after the December 8th council meeting too. Or December 9th, sorry, I'm on the wrong day.
And the December is the next day, prospect. And I'm gonna suggest that maybe our first one, because it's a bit of a long process and I don't think we can get through it in an evening, is our first one to be a daytime, and then maybe we'd use some evenings if that's possible to I know for staff and others, but
Yeah, I
don't
know
want
it's
to
a
tie up
big,
7 evenings, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
no, I know it's a big process and to be honest with you, any more than 4 hours is just, yeah, it's information overload. So, I was leaning towards the other way. I was thinking of an evening to start, get your feet wet, get your head into it, and then have a full afternoon to get into the meat and potatoes of it, would be my thought process. I'm open to suggestions, so.
The week of December 15th to 19th, would give me more time to prepare.
If I may, I'm not available on the 16th. Other than that.
Okay.
I'm-
So would the evening of the 15th work for everybody?
Yeah.
It's a Monday. Okay, so let's tentatively set up for Monday, the 15th. And do we want to wreck everybody's Friday and try and come back on the 19th?
Just, let me just see what's here.
The Christmas party.
So in the evening, are you saying start at 6?
Start at 7, 6. What works best for everybody?
6.
6? Okay, start at 6 on the 15th. And this is just
15th.
tentative, you have to approve it at council, so.
Yeah.
So on the 15th, we'll start at 6. And I guess the 19th or the 22nd is give you some time to,
I'll be out of province from the 21st to the 30th.
okay,
So, I mean, I can Zoom though, if needed, but I will be here the 19th if that.
okay, does the 19th work for
No,
everybody?
already a meeting, sorry.
Okay, 18th,
No, can we do the 17th?
well, it doesn't give you much time to dive in, but yeah, 17th,
You're gonna have to.
Is that daytime, Danny?
Wednesday,
During the
huh?
day.
If it's an early one.
Yeah, afternoon is what I was thinking, like
Yeah.
start at
Yeah.
1 o'clock kind of thing and go till
The Wednesday.
5-ish.
does the box on Wednesdays.
Till what time?
It does.
It's a little bit-
Till
Three, I
3,
think.
11 till 3.
What if we did like 3 to 7 or something? Or is that,
Buggers up burn.
oh, so
I got a meeting, it starts at 7, but I can pass that on.
if it starts at 7, what if we did 3
2
to
to 6.
2 to 6 even?
2 to
Yeah,
6.
if Fred comes in an hour late. Cause he drives till 3 is what they said.
Okay, so we'll go tentatively the 15th at 6 p.m.
Yeah,
The 17th, starting at 3 till 7.
Yeah.
Or, you have to leave a little bit early, council. So that's our tentatives, and then we need a date probably in January to wrap it up. Mondays seem to be everybody's flavor so far,
Mondays work well.
and this is as needed, so the 5th.
So sorry, January.
January 5th.
January 5th, yep.
Or 12th, I guess. Whatever works. Do we need to?
Well,
Well,
do it on the
with the
5th, that
council.
gives them a week to get everything together for council.
Yeah, cause we've
That's
got a
right
meeting on
after
the
the new
13th.
year. Is that everybody back in?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's set up the 5th as a tentative. And I guess depending upon how we make out on the previous 2, whether we do a day or an evening.
Okay.
Okay,
And I will need to know if you need to live stream, because I have a couple of commitments that I'll have to have somebody cover for me and.
perfect. Not that you're not important, but.
Is that a, no, is that yes?
That's a good.
And then it can be approved at the 13th.
Yeah, that's kind of that's why I wanted to go to the 5th, Norm, to get you some.
What time on the 5th?
Yeah.
Well, the 5th, depending upon whether we need the whole day or just an evening is kind of what my fear was. Same thing, if we do the 2 to 6 on the 5th, tentative,
2 or 3?
3, 2.
Cause we had 3, did we not on? the
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
his Fred, he's driving local,
Right.
3.
Yeah, that was because Fred was driving,
Right.
so.
So you wanna do 2 to 6 then?
2 to 6 on the 5th if we need.
Okay.
Okay, I'll bring this back for a motion at the
Council.
December meeting. Thank you.
Okay, anybody got anything for roundtable that they'd like to just throw out there? Okay,
Can I?
yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
just
Brenda.
very quickly talk about the communication protocol, just very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just likely more need clarification and perhaps some direction as a new counselor with respect to public inquiries. In the handbook, there's two scenarios with regard to how we address it, page 48 and 58. Very clear that the CAO would respond to any public concerns or inquiries, and there is a process in terms of formal complaints. However, when a member of the public addresses council, in my view, I would recommend to my colleagues that we need to consider an acknowledgement. And yes, then we can hand it over to the CEO, but I think that one step is missing. I know as a community resident, if I were to address council in a written format and I received absolutely no acknowledgement as a reply, then that would indicate to me that there's
It's not
a
important.
communication problem with my council as a community member. And so I'm just wondering if I'm just throwing it out to the floor in terms of how we might respond. I know in some organization it's a standard response, but at least then we were respectfully responding and acknowledging any concern or issue that is brought to our attention electronically or verbally.
And the challenge is, I shouldn't say every complaint, issue, topic varies. We had a gentleman who was evicted from the manor and came to the mayor wanting to know what I could do to resolve his problem. And I explained to him that that is something that the council does not get involved with. We've got another one where somebody wants to have council do their bidding for a place to stay. And that's one that we have to, again, that's not our role. And
But
it's,
again, if I may.
Yeah.
Just that we need to maybe just step back. It's just in the form of written communication to town council where council is addressed. It's not the action plan that we need to discuss.
okay,
It's the first step. And that's just simply the acknowledgement that we hear you. And this is what we typically will do.
Yeah,
Because
and
I have to make the assumption that the community knows what the process is under the MGA with regard to what the role is of the CEO versus council is probably a poor assumption to me.
So
go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I think like one thing I wanted clarification on, which you all know, is the portal. So I put a question out there to everybody. We had received a concern on the portal and it was addressed to council and the mayor only. So my question, which I don't really think I got an answer for, was I certainly didn't want to take the concern on myself, but I just wondered whose role it is to acknowledge that it has been received. And that's it. It doesn't have to say this is what we're doing, but more just thank you for your inquiry. We will discuss this. That's all I wanted to know is just
Yeah.
whose role is
Well, you
that?
got hit with a high hard one right off the bat.
Well, I got hit with a hard one personally.
Yeah.
But the other concern wasn't such a hard one. It was more just, I was trying to get clarification on, yeah, exactly. Like, can we decide, will Danny be the one to reply that sent all of us just to say, thank you, acknowledged, we will discuss it.
It's just a standard response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many of them do you really need to respond to? How many of them are actually to be forwarded to administration?
Yeah.
Right.
That is your response.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just
exactly.
our response.
But a response.
Yeah, any
Yeah.
response.
Because I was dealing with that one person who that portal came in, like that thing on there, we all got it.
Yeah.
Did she get a response? No,
No.
she did not. And I'm not saying she needed an answer, but she did need a response. Just
Well,
be able to
needed
say, hey, by the way, thank you for this, whatever, our typical of this thing, and then from there, that because here again, if I give a response, any of us were to give a response to a company, ATCO, whatever, and we got crickets, we would be upset. And it is this little thing of, especially if it's going through that portal and it comes up like that, I don't think that's a useful tool the way it is. Unless there is a little thing to come, yes, it did communicate with us, which is good.
But you
But
still have to
No different
realize,
than people sent a
Yeah.
email to all of you the same, so it's really digital. If
Yeah,
it's a digital
correspondent
thing.
comes
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
But,
with
but
the office in
response
written
is a
format.
good thing. If you want to get people angry, don't respond to them.
but there also comes a point in time, we've had several people who will send
Yeah.
hundreds of emails.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it possible with the portal, like, can they not get a response, like when they submit it on the portal saying like,
It does say, thank you,
Okay.
your response has been
Okay.
submitted.
okay, submit it, but there's not like
no
a,
follow-up
right.
procedure, because that's up to the person receiving it.
Mhm.
So
yeah,
the discussion has been had in the past to remove the ability, a couple of things, to remove the ability to select all. So they would have to click all 7 if they wanted it to go to all 7. And to be perfectly honest, the ones that are sending it to all 7 are hoping to get a response.
absolutely.
Not only that, there are some elected officials who do not respond even when it's sent to them only.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's very frustrating for the public, and I would like to remove them as an option from that. Is that fair to the rest?
No.
Not really. If somebody were to send an email to the elected officials, they could send a bulk email to all 7 people. So the expectation between the form and the email is exactly the
Yeah.
same from the perspective of the consumer, the client, the customer, the
Yeah.
ratepayer. The only reason we went to the form, or as you're referring, the portal option, is because 2-3 terms ago, it was a huge span issue. So I'm sitting at home at 7:30 in the evening and I'm getting texts like crazy from the staff that have their emails on the website, the elected officials, and everybody's being spammed. And Chris was the mayor at that time, he'll remember this, because the messages were coming in faster. And I'm like, what is going on? So where is it being initiated? And then everybody, all 7 plus the staff, are texting me. They don't want to work on a Friday night any more than I do. This has fixed that problem.
I think the portal's great.
This has fixed that problem, and only things that are intended to be submitted come through there, and it works for staff as well. And then our email addresses are not put out there. People want to contact staff or council, they're directed to hanna.ca/contact-us, and they can submit it accordingly. Staff are very good at responding. There's a separate one for bylaw. They're very good at responding. I know some elected officials do not respond, because I will do tests and ask them to respond ASAP, and I don't ever get a response.
I don't know if it's spam or not.
Yeah.
That's a whole different topic.
That's what I always am.
It has the safe word in it, so that can't.
But has there ever been protocol for, like, you, Danny, as the mayor, like, are you the one who's supposed to say, acknowledge, receive? Just, more specifically talking about the form on the portal, when we all receive it.
I can be that person.
It doesn't necessarily need to be you. We're
It
not
doesn't,
saying
it just we need
throw
to be
it
able to
all.
communicate so that we know someone is replying.
The mayor
May I-
is the spokesman for the community.
Yes.
so-
Absolutely.
Code of conduct, sure. Do you have any recommendations, Matthew, with
Well-
respect to, where we're going with this?
For council, it's a little bit different, but for like staff, I've always been told if it's an email, whoever's first in the email is the person who responds. So if someone emails me, then puts Laurie next and Winona next and Brent next, it's me who responds, because I'm first on the list. That's what I've been told. For councillors, like what you're taught is the mayor is the spokesperson, right? So if somebody emails you all, then the expectation would be that the mayor responds. If it's directed at a specific councillor, but you're all included, then that councillor should respond. But if there's any concern on an area to respond, then you would chat to your fellow councillors on that first. Or just send a thank you for your email, we'll review it and get back to you.
So in terms of guidelines, then the portal, if an issue, concern, et cetera, come from the public via the portal, then the response we'll all acknowledge that our mayor will acknowledge that. Is that correct?
If it's a general, it's a American council, it's an
Yeah.
American council, yeah, if
Okay.
it's to a specific one, and but you weren't sure how to respond to it, you could reach out to other councillors first before doing that, or staff, if it's staff related.
I received a tricky one, we'll say, the other day, and I guess, Danny, when I select elected officials, I think I have to separately put you in as well. I didn't, but I did send to council. The email I received, the response I gave, just so we were all on the same page. And I mean, if other people want to do that, I appreciate being in the loop, so we're not having the same conversations with the same people again and again. Because the one that's approached me has approached many others and is, I think I'm fresh meat. So
Yeah.
that's what we're dealing with.
She was one of my, when I mentioned getting hundreds of emails,
Yeah,
I just quit responding.
well, I haven't replied to the
The other,
latest
the
novel.
other Elaine was the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a lot, and it's a lot of stuff that it's not even my role, which is.
Councilwoman?
If I
on
can
to
make a
administration.
suggestion, I
Oh,
took a
Councilwoman?
very good course just by EOEP, which Alberta municipalities put on their educational programs for governing. And there is a session in there called public engagement. And that really does deal with some of the communications process and protocol. I mean, it says municipal council is elected to make decisions on behalf of citizens. However, in order to govern effectively and make decisions that are in the best interest of the diverse communities within municipalities, council must be willing to consider the community's perspective and input when making decisions. This course, Council's Role in Public Engagement course, will provide an overview of various ways municipalities can engage with citizens and public input into decisions making, the dangers, the limits involving public and municipal decisions, and important engagement and supporting community development. And there's a communication piece in there too. So some of these courses might be valuable for us to take. There is another one I know it's a communications course when you have to deal with the media. And how to directly deal with the media, what your responses be. I mean, when you're speaking as an individual, I mean, we can all speak to the public as individuals, but you're not addressing the individuals as a corporate body, in my understanding, until we've had those discussions. If you're addressed with something, is that not true? I mean, unless it's information you can just give to them that's already been provided, your intake, or unless it's been a motion that has been passed. I mean, we don't just go out and start telling them, making all kinds of decisions about information that we have based on our personal opinion. So I would say probably in the best interest of everybody, it might be valuable for us to engage in one of these courses about what communication looks like. I do know we have policy in place, but maybe we can highlight some of those pieces and what that would look like.
Yeah, the public engagement policy certainly doesn't address the concerns we have.
Yeah, and I have one other thing. So in the past, we have during our council meeting, we get our budget numbers and we get our activities and stuff like that. And we've been putting Noe on the spot. If you have any questions about numbers or why something isn't the way you think it should be, I'm encouraging you to reach out to her prior to, so she can actually answer the question instead of putting her on the spot. And it's just not fair to,
No, exactly.
to her. And it's something I started doing and I didn't realize how, I don't know, inappropriate it is, but I mean, it just, and some of them are simple, like, you know, there was a question I remember, I don't know, it was a while back. What is APR? And because we use acronyms till we're blue in the face, and it turns out it was April. But I think just to simplify things and make things not as evasive, I guess, for lack of a better term, if you have questions about numbers, reach out to her, because we get our packages usually on Friday or Thursday. And just reach out to her and say, hey, what the hell is this? And usually you'll get a pretty good answer.
And that should be for all staff too, for all departments, because if you blindside Brent or Recreation or Michelle with something that if she's focused on one thing, then she might not have that answer for you. So if you provide that answer before, that question before council meeting, we can give you that answer at council meeting. You can still ask that
We'll
question.
cover it up.
Okay.
Yeah, inevitably it'll
We
come
will
up.
give you that answer too. I've been to so many council meetings that other organizations where council will ask a question, and staff have to say, I'll get that to you next
Yeah.
meeting. So it's, if you have that question, you can send it in before to me or Winona, and we'll get you that, you can ask that question in the meeting, we'll get you the answer. A whole bunch of.
Yeah, because I would say in lieu of transparency, I like the process, but I think those questions still have to come back to the table. 'Cause
Definitely.
inevitably, that is what Wisconsin meeting is about.
Well, it can come back to the table, but
Yes.
this way she has the chance to.
Yes,
answer
Yeah,
them.
instead of asking like what a check was for.
Yeah.
Or your question might be answered and it's as simple as, I made a mistake. I didn't know this. And it was, oh, okay, for my own personal.
Yeah, I have no problem with being answered at the meeting, asked again at the meeting, but that way there, we have an educated answer and we're not putting somebody on the
People have
spot.
a chance to prepare a response, and lots of times I'm sure there needs to be some work.
We have the ability to go forward, look at what's.
It's also good that then we know you've read the agenda.
And the budget.
Like I said, we don't mind the questions, like they're great.
Yeah.
My first one is a quick scroll through the cover page, then usually Sunday night I sit down and I go, oh my God.
Monday morning, Matthew is blitz.
Well, communication is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
and-
sounds like
and-
we're on the same.
Communication is
Speaking of that and different ways of doing things, I went to a session at Munis and it was on good practices. And
Best practices?
no, good practices.
Good
It wasn't best. It was good practices. So one of the facilitators have their counselors, their deputy mayor, actually run a meeting or two during their time. So I thought our information session, this was actually a very interesting information session. But I thought, well, your deputy mayor, maybe you could run the information session.
Yeah, why not?
I'm not trying to blindside anybody. I've been there where I can't, like I physically got hung up on a job site and had to throw poor Vern under the bus. I threw Ange under the bus once. And I think just so you get your feet a little bit wet and yeah, and this way here, you know what's coming.
So are you saying, that, like, all the, information meetings, the deputy mayor?
Yep.
I'm not in favor of that.
Okay.
You were elected to be the mayor, I'm sorry. If I wanted to be the mayor, I'd sit there, but I'm not. That's not my position.
I think it's good to have experience, so I'd be happy to run an info session.
And if you're not,
You wanna do one or two,
I don't care.
whatever,
I'll
I'm
run all.
okay with that, but I don't think that, I'm not gonna agree with that. That's just my opinion.
that's fine, you're entitled, and that's why we have opinions, so.
I'm in favor of it, but
Yeah, maybe we do 3 in your thing. Or maybe we do 2, maybe we do none. But just
Should
something
we
to think
have it
about.
elected then, if some counselors choose not to,
Yeah.
that's acceptable, and some do. I'm certainly in favor of that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not here to put you in a bad spot. I'm here to try and help you
good
succeed.
And we're not here to put you in a bad spot either.
Yeah. But I just, like I said, it was interesting to sit there and listen to what some other people have done and how they do things. And I went, holy cow, that's a cool idea. Some of them are pretty bizarre, but there's some cool ones.
Danny,
Is this are these some of the communities that vote their counselors in, and then from the council, they vote their mayor?
No.
Okay. 'Cause I know
can
that's
we,
a
something to
difference.
marinate on, because
Very-
I know we're running late. We need some sort of protocol for our sessions in terms of disruptions.
Rob and I were working on that during the
Perfect,
session.
perfect.
Thank you.
So
That's, yeah, it's just very disrupting and it's rude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, Rob and I were working on that while we were.
I wondered, yeah, he was on his phone, so I thought
I have a
maybe,
feeling.
that's good though. Awesome.
And we don't, and I'm sorry, but we don't want to shut them down.
No,
You have to let them have their time, but it just,
but not during a presentation when he's trying to ask questions.
about China.
Exactly.
It's relevant.
There is a time and there is a place, but
Yeah.
also isn't fair for our other guests.
No, it's not, and
We
that's,
respect the rules.
Yeah. I know, you're absolutely right. Like I said, Rob and I were working on that during our session yeah.
There's a
he's-
public presentation component.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This
Yeah.
part too, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, we'll be fine. So we'll adjourn at,